Good evening, racing fans, and welcome to Podium eSports coverage of the first step to the season opening race for Season 5 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. This is the Alpha Graphics Duels at Daytona, live from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. My name is Blake McCandless. I'll be the play-by-play announcer here for Monday Night Racing for Season 5, and of course, I'll be joined alongside some familiar faces in the booth here. Kenneth Bueno and Jacob Hitz back with you here for Season 5 action here in 2022. It'll be Ryan Bauer, our producer for the evening, with cameras provided by Dougie Beard. And Jacob, Kenneth, it is great to be back. I know we even had a little bit of racing on Thursday night, which was, I guess, a little bit of a prelude to tonight, but I know these drivers, they've had a long enough break, and I think they're ready to go to get things started tonight here in Season 5.
And especially with the fallout after the Season 4 finale where we had an in-person event and Adam Cabot prevailed as the champion, these drivers are ready to get back at it again. They want the sweetness of the cup. They want the best of the best at the end of the season. And of course, it all starts right here. This is for the drivers that try to get in, and this is not going to be safe whatsoever. We've got elimination style with the duels and the LCQs. So trust when I say this is going to be an insane night of racing with everybody trying to get in to make the Sunrise 500.
And I think Kenneth is exactly right about that, Jacob. You think about everything that's gone into last year, the momentum that's created, the spark that has made for this league, and it all starts tonight with the field of a lot of drivers, Jacob, who are trying to qualify for this field. It's not just your regulars, it's not just your part-timers. Nearly everybody who is eligible and signed up to be in this league, they are showing up tonight because they want to be a part of the Sunrise 500 here next week.
The stakes may be higher than they've ever been in Monday Night Racing, and we've got names that may have not raced a ton last year that have come back and said, I want to run the full season, I want to have a shot to win the championship once this season is said and done. I think the momentum at MNR is carried from the end of last season to this season has been tremendous. I know since the checkered flag flew at Auto Club back in February, we've been waiting somewhat patiently for this season to come around, this fifth season. I'm so excited just because the car track combinations that we have are fantastic, and there's no better place to start any season than Daytona. It's perfect that we're here to kick the season off.
Jacob is exactly right about that, Kenneth. And speaking of Daytona, why don't we take a look at our track facts here for Daytona International Speedway that was very recently scanned and updated in the service.
Yeah, a lot of details added in the iRacing platform, but if you're a sim racing fan and you know stock car racing like any NASCAR fan across the United States or across the globe, you know that this place needs no introduction. It's a 2.5 mile, 4.023 kilometer tri-oval with 31 degrees of banking through every single turn, 18 degrees in that main tri-oval to the start-finish line where we'll see a lot of drivers make some bold moves in the final laps of the race, and only 2 degrees on the back straightaway. This track has history dating back to 1959, and it's just a hallowed ground of sim racing and in real life racing. It's a beautiful place to race at, and it's an amazing place to win as well.
A great herald of speed is this Daytona International Speedway, as right now, at the moment, we have cars on track who are starting to wrap up here the last couple of minutes of qualifying. They've been practicing for over an hour, Jacob, and I think that's the one thing that I love seeing for Monday Night Racing, perhaps more than any other league that I've covered, and I've covered a lot of them on this service, that the drivers that run this league, they put in the time. They take it serious, and even here at Daytona tonight, they're trying to learn everything they can, and this server's been just about full with our entire lineup of drivers who have been practicing for nearly an hour to get just a 35-lap race in here in a moment.
Well, and because these guys don't get a ton of practice week to week, the first race is the most important, because if you can win and lock yourself into the playoffs, that makes things that much easier going through the rest of the regular season. You have to get off and start on the right foot at the first race. The first race happens to be Daytona, so it may seem that, this will be easy, we don't need to put the time in. Not so fast. You can not show up to Daytona until qualifying, put down a lap, but you won't exactly know how your car is going to handle in the draft. You don't necessarily know all the other drivers that are going to be out on the racetrack with you. You don't know how they're going to handle the draft, how they're going to handle runs, where they're going to go. That's why I think Thursday was so important with that little 30-lap race that we had. just so drivers could get familiar with themselves. Same thing here with the duels. Just gives these guys another opportunity to familiarize themselves with the rest of the field before we get the green flag a week from tonight.
Well, and speaking of getting the green flag, we are just moments away from firing them up right now. You can see them starting to get on the grid as we'll take a look at your starting lineup here in the first of our two Alpha Graphics duels here tonight. It'll be Garrett Smithley who will start on the inside of row number 1. 50.275 is the quick time for the driver of the number 15, or 52 rather, as George Ballfans will start to his outside in the second position. Maxwell Kinnon, who will roll off in the third starting spot, a very strong competitor in M&R, as well as Will Rogers, another great competitor there from Monday Night Racing, who will start in fourth. Colin Fern will start in fifth, Championship 4 competitor from last year. And, of course, Robbie Lyons, your Season 3 champion, will start in sixth. Anthony Alfredo, the NASCAR Xfinity Series, will start in the 7th spot. Gary Sexton produced your championship event last year, but that hasn't kept him off the racetrack too long. He'll start in the 8th spot tonight. Connor Daly will roll off from 9th, and DJ Cummings will round out your top 10, Kenneth.
46 of Stephen Ellis, the reporter for the Hockey News, here will off P11 with Josh Balicki. He won here at Daytona with the Mazda MX-5 cars last season. We'll see what he can do with the next gen in P12. Ruben Garcia out of the NASCAR Peak Mexico Series makes his very first MNR start. He'll start 13th with Mark Rabillas in the outside in P14. Dylan Welch in the 14 will start in the inside of the top 15. You'll have ESPN NFL reporter Mike Clay in the 88 to P16, followed by the drivers in row number 9, Steve O'Fon, the 11, and league owner Ford Martin in the 07. He won that Thursday practice race, that 70-lap one that happened a couple of days ago. Case Collenbach will start 19th in the 84. Michael Massey be the final driver in the top 20. Jacob?
News reporter, sports reporter Brett Baldeck lines up in 21st with NHRA driver Ron Capps lining up on the outside in 22nd. 23rd, Chris Wilner with Matthew Stallnecht in 24th. Actually make that Bernard Pollard in the 31. He'll be 24th. These last three did not set a lap. Paul Sutton, Matt Stallnecht, shotgun of the field of this field of 26 here for duel number 1. Blake?
Well, and again, a couple of these drivers will actually be in the booth for duel number 2, including that driver we just listed off in Matt Stallnecht. Once we complete our first duel here of the night, we'll turn the reins over to Ford Martin, Matt Stallnecht, and DJ Cummings, all who are trying to compete and make their way into the Sunshine 500 next week through the Alpha Graphics duels at Daytona. But, Jacob, go ahead and lay out exactly the format that we're using here tonight.
So in each of these duels, 35 laps. They get 1 faster pair, 3 green-white checkers if we need them, 3 sets of tires down on pit road, the fuel tank set to 75%. So in these duels, the top 18 finishers, they move on to the feature. They move on. We won't see them again until next week. The remaining drivers will move on to the LCQ, which will be held after the second duel. That'll be 25 laps. The top 4 from the LCQ make the big show. 5 more spots will be determined by the promoter. Everyone else will be on the outside looking in and will be sitting in the grandstands here at Daytona next week.
Well, and again, those LCQs taking place a little bit later. As far as this race is concerned, these drivers do have a fast repair if they want it. They'll have 3 attempts at a green-white checkered, should it come to that, which perhaps in a 35-lap race it may. They'll have 3 sets of tires on pit road. And one thing of note, the 20-gallon fuel cell in this car reduced to just 15 gallons here tonight. That'll be interesting with going 35 laps. But already, pace car is off, green flag is out, and we are racing here at Daytona International Speedway as they'll get up to full song. Garrett Smithley will lead them on the inside, but a great run for George Ballfans as they head into 1.
And already side by side between the 2 Ford Mustangs, the 94 Ballfans getting a good shove from the 65 of Will Rogers. Remember, Rogers is a previous M&R champion. He's going to try to replicate that and get win number 2. A couple of cars fan out before the moment. Everybody double file from first all the way to last.
Double file through the field as they get close to full song. As they head to turn number 3, they won't be completely up at full speed until they get back around the start-finish line. All Garrett Smithley down on the bottom. He's clear for the leadoff 4.
And Smithley looking to try and move forward, but that charge on the top side, it is working. A lot of organization up there. It'll be a near-dead heat at the stripe. Give it to Garrett Smithley by just 14 one-thousandths of a second. He'll lead lap number 1 here in Season 5.
And that's going to matter a lot, well, Blake, because on that inside lane, when you get a bunch of drivers backed in, they start to check up, and it could just give the guys on the outside higher up in the 31 degrees of banking to get a better run, especially off the corner. You'll see right here, Smithley will have the advantage, but ball fans, with the help of Rogers and company, will just have the charge right there, and they'll make it side by side once again.
Gotta wonder if Max Kennan's gonna look to pull out a line in that 21. He's got a good run right behind Smithley. He's clear up to the high side. He'll stay right tucked in behind that Ford of the number 15. Garrett Smithley leads off 4.
And Maxwell Kennan, a great job pushing Smithley out. It'll be single file through your front 2. Battle for 3rd right behind them, though. Ball fans starting to fall back in the clutches of Will Rogers. Charging up on the inside lane. Ball fans still lead the outside.
And it just looks right now that the inside lane just does not have as many patrons down there. The outside seems to be the place to be. And right now, at least in the middle of the field, they're starting to spread out just a bit. Ruben Garcia among those of the handful that are starting to fall back. And they are really shuffling now. Look at this move here. Colin Fern makes it to the outside.
Fern peeked down the line. He was 3rd on the inside. He said, yep, I'll take that. Thank you very much. He pulls up in front of the 94 of Alphonse Jr., and he's going to take that momentum all the way. Move that 86 to P number 1. He's got the lead off 4.
And Colin Fern showing no patience here. He is coming back here in Season 5 of Monday Night Racing with a vengeance, and he has pulled a long line of cars. He'll lead it at the stripe. George Ballfans, though, he'll go low in the tri-oval. He'll duck out of line, back up to Smithley as they head to 1.
And you've got 2 interesting stories here, Blake, at the front of the field. George Ballfans out of the Road to Glory series from last season, one of the new drivers here trying to make his debut in the Pro Series, and Colin Fern, who was just shy of the championship a couple of months ago. He got knocked out by Shane Van Gisbergen in turn 1 and then oversped on his pit box as Fern continued to hold the lead.
Here comes Will Rogers, another competitor that went pretty much to the wire, hunting for the championship. He already has one to his name, looking for another. He sits in 2nd. It's still Colin Fern rim riding around the racetrack.
It's a NASCAR Xfinity Series party at the front of the field. You got Fern from Brandonbuilt Motorsports, George Ballfans, who changes tires for Alpha Prime Racing, Robbie Lyons, an Xfinity driver, as well as Garrett Smithley, who's competed in a couple of them. But right now, it is all Fern as they head into 1.
And it seems like the trend for the moment, Blake, is that when everybody gangs up on the high side like you're seeing Fern and the rest of the guys up there do, it just propels them forward. That inside line doesn't really have much to respond with as Ballfans just tries to hold hope with Smithley behind him, but Fern, a couple of cars out front.
And now you've got to wonder if somebody like that, DJ Cummings, he pulls to the inside. Robbie Lyons going to join with him. I was wondering if somebody in the top was going to pull down to the bottom and try and make a run. Here comes Robbie Lyons in that blue deuce. He's looking for the lead off turn 4.
The Valvoline machine of Robbie Lyons trying to move forward and do all he can, but right now it looks like that bottom lane started to die out a little bit. Kenneth, we know whichever lane has the numbers is the one that's going to move forward. We saw it at Talladega this weekend, and right now about dead even as they work towards turn 1.
That's exactly right, Blake. When you see many drivers stay up on the outside or inside or even the middle lane, when they have the most, they're going to be the best. And for right now, the outside seems to be faring the best, but the inside will respond here out of turn 2. Robbie Lyons, help from DJ Cummings. They'll make it even.
They've got a good run down the back straightaway. Here comes Lyons. He'll go to the front. He is clear for the lead. DJ Cummings in 2nd. He is clear for that position. Balfons is there. Now Colin Fern will creep to the bottom, try and pull side draft as they come up off the corner.
Fern starting to lose a little bit of ground there on the top. You have Lyons in 1st, in line with him. Directly behind you have DJ Cummings, who's worked his way up into the 2nd position. Ballfans in 3rd. Garrett Smithley now will move up with that 84, up into the top side. So Ballfans looking for the lead on the high side.
And you know what? We've seen a lot of moves already, especially at the front. But if you're everybody in the midfield, I see guys like Gary Sexton, Case Collimack, Steven Ellis that are just willing to ride around. Remember, if you're in the top 18, you will make the Sunrise 500 next week. So no need to worry. They're remaining calm. The front of the field being very aggressive.
And there are only 2 cars on the outside looking in that are in this lead pack as here comes Garrett Smithley. He drops to the bottom. He's got no help. He's going to need a lot more help if he wants to try and clear Ballfons. That ain't going to work. He'll slide back, and that 94 will rocket with the lead off 4.
George Ballfans Jr. to the race lead here at Daytona. They'll work it across the stripe this time. They'll start lap number 8. We have just reached the 4th distance, but a big move by Colin Fern. Nearly contact for the race lead. It'll give Fern the lead into turn number 1.
He almost about wrecked George Ballfans there into turn 1, but somehow they do not make contact, and Colin Fern surges back to the race lead. Here comes Alfredo to make it 3rd. Rogers staying behind in 2nd, but they have ditched everybody else behind him. Here comes Smithley down low.
Don't look now, but Anthony Alfredo has joined the party in that 3rd spot in the 23. Raja Karuth and Alfredo had a lot of moments in this last season, and it's friendly, but it's competitive. They're in different duels tonight. Maybe they will see them come together next week.
That is one storyline, perhaps more than any other, that we are looking forward to here in Season 5, as Fern will show the way out front. He has drafting help from Will Rogers, who have tandemed out a little bit from the rest of this lead pack.
And look at the 2 drivers that have surged from the mid-pack. The 77 of Josh Balicki, the 14 of Dylan Welch. They are both either +6, +7 on the racetrack since the start of this duel. So right now, both of them surging at this point, being very good with their draft moves, and they're staying on the inside with the 94.
Will Rogers with a big shove to the back bumper of Colin Fern. Anthony Alfredo right there as well, but here comes the 94 Balfons. Colin Fern just cranks it left, comes down and covers the spot. He'll continue to lead off corner number 4.
Well, we'll see how long this will last. You remember back to Thursday Night Thunder just a couple of nights ago. You could be aggressive as that leader to block, but at a certain point it may not work out for you, as Fern actually went around there, but now here comes Ballfans trying to go around Fern, but not going to be able to do it there on the bottom side. It's dying out.
It was Balicki there that split the 94 and found his way. Look at him dive underneath Colin Fern for the dual lead. Only problem is he's got a good gap to himself and the 94 that he just ditched going into turn 1. So Fern will have the momentum back for the lead.
And that whole inside line now has to stack up because they got to catch up to Balicki. He's off the pace compared to everybody else, so that backs up the bottom side. Balfons had to lift, so he didn't just turn Balicki going into the corner. So the top 2 clear once again in Fern and Rogers. Interesting move, but these guys are just learning for late in the race.
Well, they're just learning, but they are racing like the win is paying out. A reminder, top 18 will advance to the Sunshine 500, but don't tell Colin Fern that. Don't tell Will Rogers, and even Anthony Alfredo, who sits topside your top 3.
Well, also Colin Fern. I mean, think about the vengeance he has to have after the championship 4 loss last season. He wants to ensure that he gets the best start to this M&R season as he can. And if it means staying up here and being as aggressive as possible, then he's going to do it. He's Colin Fern, as he's getting a big push from the 65.
That outside line had a big surge of momentum as the inside line has completely fallen apart. I thought maybe Stephen Ellis might peek to the inside with Alfredo. Instead, they'll just hang right up outside as it's all Colin Fern up off the corner.
Colin Fern still leading the charge here at Daytona as that bottom, like you said, Jacob, once again starting to die out just a little bit as we'll reach lap number 12 here of 35. Fern, Rogers, Alfredo, Ellis, and now Steve Alfont first venture up into the top 5 tonight.
And there's a good look at the 99 Crypto Autosports' Mark Rabillas. He surges to the outside here on the 31 degrees of banking to Mike Clay. This is the battle for the transfer spot, by the way, guys. Clay holding it in. Rabillas trying to take it all away. Michael Massey making it a 3-horse fight. Rabillas will take the transfer spot out.
And that transfer spot is just going to keep getting more and more intense as the laps tick down. The intensity just going to continue to build. And by the time this thing is said and done, we may be worried less about the lead and more worried about what's going on in that 18th spot.
No doubt about it, as Mike Clay, a big stack up there as he'll work it on back. You can see the ESPN Fantasy Football Machine may be in danger of losing the draft here at the back of the field as he was in 18th, drop kicked him back to 20th, and now I think he's just fighting to hang on, chasing the pack down into 1.
And we've already seen that happen with a couple of guys near the rear. Bernard Pollard Jr., Brett Baldeck, Michael Massey among those who kind of fell out of the draft and are all by themselves just holding on to the last hope that they can get back in this race. But so far, it's the leaders, Fern and Rogers, leading the charge outside.
I'm surprised how little moves we're seeing at this point. You would think if these guys are just going to trial and error and see what they can do and learn for later on in the race. Not so much maybe fuel, a bit of a concern for these guys, but we're closing in on halfway.
Well, and that's the purpose here, Jacob, is to hope for those green flag pit stops. And, a big stack up front as a couple of drivers will go down to the apron. They'll collect it back up, save it. Some calls over the radio, some drivers not happy. They sort it out, but stack up there as Josh Balicki got awfully loose through the tri-oval.
And it was ball fans that gave him the tap, almost about spun the 77 around. Balicki was able to man it straight, and we are still green, but that inside line called it completely dead. Here comes Alfredo, inside Rogers contact.
There goes Alfredo through the grass. He's going to go down all the way through, hits a berm. He's going to slide it on up onto the racetrack, and I think we're all good. We stay green. Alfredo, he's way off the pace, but we'll stay green as the leaders are off 4.
No doubt about it. Anthony Alfredo is sitting down, and then crash into him. Anthony Alfredo, as he comes back up the racetrack, or at least there is that pack of ball deck of Mike Clay, Bernard Pollard, who were catching Anthony Alfredo. Unfortunately, they saw the traffic, and I believe it was Mike Clay who may have made contact. You could see here on the replay, Alfredo slow, does a great job collecting that race car up, decides to take it right down to the bottom of the racetrack as this pack is snarling behind him at roughly 50 miles an hour faster. And you can see contact there with Bernard Pollard. Will shoot Clay to the outside wall. Pollard trying his best to save that Ally Chevrolet. And that is how caution number 1 comes out of the Alpha Graphics Duels at Daytona.
And Blake, that caution right there, especially the first contact between Rogers and Alfredo, is just a factor of the super speedway racing here with these cars, that if you get wrong, you're going to get it dramatically wrong. It could send you into a wall. Fortunately there for Alfredo, he was able to keep it straight, but while he was going slow, just trying to pick up through the gears, Mike Clay, Bernard Pollard were side by side. Clay tried to avoid it and then got into the 31, caused them both to spin around and got a couple of other guys in it. Just a tough situation there. Alfredo just trying to be aggressive for second, but it ends up putting him all the way back down to 22nd.
You can see how that aggression can sometimes work for you and then work against you as we are starting to approach the halfway mark of this race. As it looks like pit road's still closed. You can see the red lights there, so nobody going to duck down to pit road just yet. But what that does, as much as that caution, Jacob, I'm sure that nobody back there wanted to wreck. You don't want to scrape up your race car, but you do have that fast repair in your back pocket to think about, and you essentially get to catch up to the lead pack. So all those drivers in Baldeck, Wilner, Bernard Pollard Jr., as they all lost the pack, this kind of brings them right back up into the fray. So bad luck and good luck, I think, if you were involved in that.
Well, and that was the whole point of being away from the lead pack, so that way when they wrecked, those guys way in the back like Mike Clay and and Bernard Pollard, well, they wouldn't get involved in this. It just so happened, wrong place, wrong time, and, Alfredo, I think, did what he needed to do. He held his line, he pulled down to the bottom. Just Mike Clay made a mistake, thought he was getting out of the way and doing something good, just misjudged it and made contact. But for those guys in the back, you can't do that anymore at this point. We're going to restart right around halfway. You're going to have inside 20 laps to go to try and mount a charge and crack your way into the top 18, so you're locked in for next week. I don't see many drivers that are going to choose to hang in the back. They're going to be pushing here to get into the top 18.
I think I'm going to echo what Jacob just said there, Kenneth. I mean, you're starting to work into the second half of this race. It's only 15 laps to go. I don't see, especially if you're anywhere on that bubble, for the first few drivers above that cut line of 18th and the first few drivers below, I don't think you can really afford to be patient as much as you would want to and maybe think that a wreck was going to happen. I don't think that you can really count on that as they'll approach pit road this time, and not a whole lot of takers.
And nobody's going to go in this time by, but I saw a lot of things happen there with that caution. Obviously, number one, the guys near the rear, they get to reset, so they have a chance at getting into this top 18. But for those guys in the top 18, like you mentioned, it's probably not going to be good to be complacent. You don't want to wait around and just hope that something's going to open out in front of you so you can surge ahead and get into the Sunrise 500. You need to establish yourself as a heavy hitter here in the final laps of this duel to make sure that you don't get bumped out, because if there's one thing about super speedway racing, Blake, it's that anything can happen in a matter of moments. It doesn't take a while for things to happen. It takes about maybe a couple of seconds for things to end up in a place. So you got to really be careful here if you're those guys around the top 18. Just got to make sure that you hold on, you survive, and that you play your cards exactly the right way.
And then the call from race control, again, there is going to be a new penalty system. It's not going to be enacted tonight as far as season-long incidents, but there is a new rule this year that if you are deemed the cause of an incident, that will count as 1 X, and you stack up enough X's throughout the year, well, guess what? That means that you are no longer going to be allowed to race in Season 5 this year. Although, tonight, that total not going to count towards that total, but as far as that caution is concerned, you still have 2 to cause just in this race tonight. That first one will be, it was put on Bernard Pollard Jr., deemed the cause of that caution by race control, so he'll be put at the tail end of the field and has one more eligible caution to cause before he is parked for the remainder of this duel. As the pace car will work its way off of turn number 4 and dive down to the safety pit lane, we'll reach the halfway mark as we cross the stripe this time. It'll be Colin Fern and Will Rogers to his outside on road number 1 here. They'll work their way to the tri-oval. Green flag is out. Fern, a little bit of a jump, able to get clear of Rogers, who will duck right down in line. Restart looks clean to me. They'll get up to full song and roughly 160 as they work into the banking.
And already as they come into turn number 1, already just a stark difference from the opening jump on lap 1 to this jump here on lap 18. On lap 1, you saw everybody practically gridlocked from start all the way to finish. But here, the leaders immediately stack up single file. Nobody wants to make a move. I have a feeling here, guys, that they may charge a little bit late, just waiting for their moment.
They got to get up to full speed. I think once they do that, Kenneth, that's when we'll start to see cars pop out of line. Gary Sexton there in P3, Stephen Ellis in P4. Wouldn't be surprised if they're the first 2 to jump ship. Nonetheless, it's all rim riding off 4.
It's all whim riding. It's Colin Fern. It's Will Rogers. It's Gary Sexton, who we haven't really talked much about tonight. Stephen Ellis, who has one of the better average finishes in Monday Night Racing on these plate tracks, showing his course here as he rides in the 4th spot.
And one thing that I noticed here looking at the stat sheet is that last season, Daytona International Speedway, when we kicked off Season 4 with the Xfinity Series cars, 6 of the drivers that finished in the top 10 that night are in this duel respectively. So if there's one thing to note, it's that all those guys are very good at this super speedway style of racing, and getting to the end, gotta watch out for that.
Couple of cars shuffling around toward mid-pack. It's Anthony Alfredo that peeks down to the inside. Robbie Lyons is back there to help him. Steve Affont is there to help him as well. So the inside line, it's a-coming. Just need a couple more cars to pull down and help. Trouble! Turn 4. One car into the outside wall. I heard Case Collenbach come over the radio, and it is Ruben Garcia that's into the outside wall on the front straightaway. He was the car that got bobbled in the middle of turn number 3 and 4. He got turned by Collenbach. And from there, he just couldn't quite save it. Tough start for the newcomer, and Ruben Garcia, he's in the wall in turn 4.
And that is the case right here. We'll get a look on the replay. I think you'll see that 84 duck out of line, and I think had second thoughts, was going to try to get back into the outside line, but unfortunately his momentum carried him forward, and that 33 was there. And like you said, Jacob, Ruben Garcia, one of the few newcomers in this heat. We have a lot more in duel number 2 just later on tonight, but Ruben Garcia Jr. Out of the NASCAR Peak Mexico Series, a driver who has worked his way here into the Monday Night Racing League. Unfortunately for him, early trouble as he was running right around that transfer spot. I believe he was in the 17th position when that accident happened. So Garcia, again, fast repair in tow, but not a great start for the newcomer here tonight.
Definitely a rough one here, so he's going to be tail end of this field, and hopefully he can come down pit road, get that fast repair, and he can give the rest of the field what Furia looks like. But at this point, I mean, you look at all the drivers here that may have to make moves around 15 laps to go. You think of guys like Bernard Pollard Jr., who has now stepped into the top 15. It's been a good recovery since that first caution out of turn 4. You think about Connor Daly in the 020, who was fastest in practice a majority of the hour-long session. Michael Massey, Chris Wilner, a lot of guys who could end up at the front now may have to rethink their strategy with this caution. It's going to be more of a dash than a marathon.
It certainly is, and of course, one of the themes I think going into tonight, Jacob, is we'll see a handful of cars at the back of the pack work its way on a pit road. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen, if they're highlighted in green, that means they are in the pit lane for a moment. Is the introduction of these cars, this is not the first time that these cars have been used in Monday Night Racing. It's the first time in a while. You have to go all the way back to Season 3 at Road America. It was Brad Perez who won that race, and by the way, Brad Perez, you'll see him just a little bit later in Duel 2 later on tonight. But aside from that, this is the first time that at a super speedway race in this package we are using this car, Jacob. So I think it's a little bit of learning, a little bit of catching up, especially for those drivers that weren't able to make it out last Thursday night and get a few laps under their belt.
You're right in the fact that this is the first time they've been taken out onto the high banks, but we did run them at Phoenix last year. David Schulthouse, the winner of that race, picking up his second win on season number 4. But again, you're right. This is the first time we've taken these cars to the high banks of any racetrack, really. I mean, Road America, road course in Phoenix, that's a pretty flat racetrack. So for these guys, it's a bit of a learning experience. And of course, we get to see these again at 2 more plate tracks. iRacing Superspeedway in June, and then the second to last race of the season, we unleash them at Atlanta, the new Atlanta. So we are far from done with these next-gen race cars this season.
Yeah, I think they're a pretty popular one for a reason. The horsepower, everything with these cars. They're excited to race them here in Monday Night Racing. Well, as the lights go off, the pace car will step away here for just a moment. 14 laps to go here in the first of our 2 Alpha Graphics Duels at Daytona, the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries.
This is an Interstate battery. More pros trust this than any other out there. Yeah, more pros. More. Even more pros. Keep going, Moss. Look, we're gonna run out of time before we run out of pros who like Interstate. I mean, we'll run out of time before we even run out of left-handed pros who knit. These pros are everywhere, which means so is this battery. Right around the corner, up the street, everywhere. Interstate batteries, outrageously dependable.
So happy you could join us here at the Daytona International Speedway for coverage of the Alpha Graphics Duels at Daytona, the prelude to the season opener of Monday Night Racing's 5th season. Blake McCandless here in the booth with you, Kenneth Bueno and Jacob Hitz down in turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 respectively here as the lights off on the pace cars. The field will work its way into 3 and 4, roughly about 80 miles per hour under pacing. Still a lot left to happen. 13 laps to go, and again, 18 spots up for grabs. Will get you into the race on Monday, or else you have to go through the LCQs just a little bit later on tonight. It'll still be the same front row we had. Fern and Rogers, they've swapped around, but it'll be Colin Fern who will bring them to the green flag. And the lights are on. Green flag in the air. Colin Fern once again, a big jump. Rogers will move in line, but a quick shift already to that top side for your top 3.
A similar phenomenon here, Blake, to what happened on the last restart. Everybody willing to take the Dale line all the way at the top of turns 1 and 2 immediately as they bump up through the gears. One thing to note, 46, Stephen Ellis, he's a previous Super Speedway winner with the trucks at Talladega. He's moved up into 4th since the drop of the green flag after starting 11th, so watch out for the purple and yellow Chevy Camaro if he can move up.
It's hard to miss that 46. We'll see if he can go anywhere. We saw Anthony Alfredo use that inside line before that last caution. He drops down to the bottom, right back again, but he's got no help down there. He's going to get freight trained off corner number 4.
Oh, and what a lonesome feeling that must be for Anthony Alfredo. He falls back to 6th. He'll lose a spot to DJ Cummings. Now George Balfans Jr. No help to speak of for Anthony Alfredo, who was in a free fall down the running order.
That is the worst possible situation you can be in, Blake. Being involved either in the sucker hole or just nobody really wanting to go with you in the draft, as Alfredo will pinch right in front of the 020 of Connor Daly. Will hopefully sneak in at 12th, will stay out of danger in that transfer spot, but that could have been a big moment if he couldn't find space.
And now they're going to try and garner up a run back here with Connor Daly. Chris Winter is there as well as Bernard Pollard. He's right back into this thing, and that Ally machine, he drops down to the bottom, and now the inside line is a little bit momentum, but they're way back into P10.
And well, you can see Ford Martin thought about jumping down there. You're seeing a lot of drivers starting to commit to that inside. Anthony Alfredo. You see the 032 right behind him, 020 or Connor Daly. He knows a thing or two about drafting, and so they'll get some help. They'll get more, even as one car, Ball Fans, jumps in front of Alfredo.
So Ball Fans will head in the 94. Remember, he was at one point your Duel 1 leader up at the front of the field, but it's just exactly what you mentioned, Blake. The fact that we end up in a situation where the guys barely above that cut line in the top 18 do not want to exit or do not want to fall out of it, so they're trying to be aggressive.
Here they come through 3 and 4, and Balfons Jr. and this inside line isn't moving. They're side by side for 4th. They're nipping at the heels of Gary Sexton coming off of corner number 4.
Well, and as that inside line starts to form, everybody who was in that top side thought they were in a good position. Well, guess what? They are losing more and more ground. Ball Fans now, leader of the inside line, up to 4th. Alfredo and Connor Daly still in line with him.
And you can tell that some of the top 3 are already thinking about that inside line. Gary Sexton was one of them. He veered down low to make sure, maybe I can get a chance here with the 94. But now Ball Fans finds his way to the bottom. Maybe he could get to Will Rogers, but the outside too strong out of turn 2.
Here they come down the back straightaway. That 21 Max Cannon weaving in and out of line on that outside. It's not really helping the outside line much at all up the front. I don't know if it'll really matter because Will Rogers is pushing the heck out of that 86 machine. Colin Fern still leads off 4.
Well, Gary Sexton, that 3rd car in line on the outside, trying to do everything he can to get to Will Rogers. They have made almost a 3-car tandem work at times. As you can see, those top 3 starting to pull away a little bit.
And they're remaining the same as they did on the previous restart and even the run before our first caution. One thing to note, though, after the wreck, Ruben Garcia in his debut is back to 18th and moving on the inside lane behind Mark Rebillis. So there is still fight left in the Peak Mexico Series driver as he fights with the 11 on the back straightaway.
Here they come, headed to turn number 3. Balfons Jr. leading this inside line, side by side with Sexton for 3rd. A big push from the 23 of Anthony Alfredo. Now side by side with the 2nd place machine of Will Rogers at the door of Colin Fern off 4.
Battle going up front, battle going for that transfer spot as well. They'll cross the stripe this time. 8 laps to go. It is still Colin Fern, your leader, but it is getting hot here at Daytona. Battle for the lead and battle for the transfer spot raging on. Here comes George Ball Fans with a nose out front.
Ball Fans with a nose inside of Colin Fern, and he'll take it away into turn 1 for just a moment. Rogers trying to give an extra shot. Here comes Ball Fans with an attempted block. Back down low to cover Alfredo.
That was almost very bad for the whole field coming down the back straightaway. That's going to allow Colin Fern to pull away. Balfons lost a lot of momentum. He falls back to 4th immediately, and now this inside line, they have to scrap and claw their way back to the front. Colin Fern remains out in front as they come off 4.
Well, I think learning quickly, if you're going to throw a block, you have to commit to it, as Ball Fans will lose all the ground that he initially made up. 22 cars still in this lead pack, bottom 4, fighting to get their way into the transfer. That is Rebillis, Garcia, Massey, and Mike Clay as they work into 1.
And those cautions really helped out, guys. If it weren't for those cautions that happened in the midway portion of the race, we would probably not be seeing a majority of the field near the rear fighting for the transfer spot. Now Rebillis holds control. It's Ruben Garcia trying to take it away, but no worries for Fern and company. They continue to lead the duel.
Here they come down the back straightaway, and this inside line is starting to fall apart. Balfons is now side by side with Josh Balicki for 5th. They'll try and gather up another run on the inside line, side by side with Stephen Ellis in that 46. They might get to Gary Sexton, but no more.
And Stephen Ellis will work his way forward. Want to remind you, there are 2 drivers off the pace that have lost the pack with damaged Case Collenbach and Garrett Smithley, saving that fast repair, hoping that they dice it up here up front. So far, so good. And Fern will lead that charge in the lead pack.
And at this point here, as we cross the line for 6 laps to go from the virtual Daytona International Speedway in Duel 1 as Alfredo moves to the high side. Those guys near the rear, Collenbach and Smithley, they're already looking ahead to that 25-lap LCQ we'll have after Duel 2. But for now, these guys fighting for the lead, scrapping so far that outside lane. Too good.
Anthony Alfredo was the motor on that inside line. He pulled up to the outside, and now they've fallen back a couple more spots. Alfredo, I think he wants to lead the bottom side if he can get enough help. He'll take P4 on the top.
P4 is where Anthony Alfredo sits. Your top 5 are single file. Fern, Rogers, Sexton, Ball Fans, and Ellis, who is starting to get side-by-side back there in the pack, is Josh Balicki, that 6th car on the inside line. Ball Fans, so huge run on the bottom.
And right now, I don't think you really need to do anything crazy for Ball Fans. Yes, you want to make a statement to everybody else in this Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries that you can be a contender up here. But remember, if you make a big move and something goes awry, you'll end up out of the top 18. Ball Fans being smart about it right now.
Anthony Alfredo just came over the radio and asked if there's a yellow line rule. I think I know where he's thinking. Big picture here, come to the checkered flag. Well, if he can go down there, he might just do it. Instead, he sits P4 as Belfons continues to motor around in 6th.
We'll watch this battle up front as they start to single file and I think start to get content with where they might run. But these drivers at the back of the field right now, Chris Wilner, 18th, has fallen out of the top 18. Mark Rabillas will hold on to that transfer spot into 1.
And they've been going back and forth, guys. Those guys within the top 18, they've been kind of trading places every now and then. When there's a checkup or there's a big surge of the draft, they end up taking position away. So it's not clear-cut around who's who to make it into the Sunrise 500. Right now, it's Rabillas and Alfont trading places as Wilner almost made a move down low.
We got Ron Capps back there as well, fighting for position. Rabillas, Chris Wilner is there. Ruben Garcia is there. They've sorted it out. They're now double wide. They were thinking about 3 wide as here come the leaders off 4.
And Ford Martin, somebody who's fallen back a little bit. He was winning last Thursday night here at this racetrack, and now he may be in jeopardy of not making it through the duels by finishing in the top 18. 3 laps to go. The battle's still side by side for that transfer spot.
But I think, Blake, if you're on that very outside lane, you're going to have a little more insurance because the bottom, look how sporadic it is. Not many drivers are being tucked together and getting good runs. Off of the corner, it seems to be where the outside lane is at its best. So Martin, very comfortable right now as they're closing on Smithley.
Yeah, lap traffic ahead in Smithley. Here comes the bottom side. George Belfons Jr. had a run. Alfredo pulls out a line. He'll drop to the inside. He'll go side by side with Sexton. Will Rogers and Colin Fern inching their way down to the inside, trying to squeeze Anthony Alfredo off the corner.
Oh, and make it hairy there as they work their way past Garrett Smithley. Looks like they're able to navigate it for now. 2 laps to go at the stripe. Fern will lead them as they are stacked up 2 wide. Everybody getting every spot they can.
And they got lucky right there, guys, that Smithley was so slow that they caught him right at the exit of the corner and onto the straightaway to the tri-oval. If they would have caught him anywhere else, it could have been complete catastrophe. But for now, everybody gets through safe. Alfredo trying to push for the lead with Boffins behind.
Let's see how much of a trigger finger Josh Mendoza has. If they make it to the line, the next flag ends the race. If they crash before then, we could go to overtime. Colin Fern comes to the bottom. He gets a huge shot from Alfredo. Belfons gets turned around. The field wants it up in turn number 3. 5, 6, 7 cars get away. Half the field, maybe more, pile in. Ford Martin in the fence. Max Cannon with big damage. Michael Massey around. Steve Affont involved. Robbie Lyons parked against the outside wall of the 31. A Bernard Pollard Jr. involved as well.
I am shocked that wreck just took place. Working off of turn number 4, it originated in the top 5 drivers who were well on their way to transferring in. It started around when Colin Fern went to throw a block. Ball Fans had a run pushing Alfredo. They get stacked up with 3 cars, and that just doesn't align. Ball Fans got shoved down to the apron, could not save it. And all these drivers who were further on back in the pack, they were fighting for something, but these drivers up here, you see Fern goes down to the bottom side, creates that stack up. Ball Fans out of shape, and he wads up a lot of cars. It's what Garrett Smithley wanted to see, but perhaps a little bit too late. But that will start us to get the yellow flag, and we will be going into overtime.
And you just look at the replay right here, and I mentioned those guys on the inside didn't need to be too aggressive or else things could get really bad really quick, but it was Fern that made the block, stacked up Alfredo. Boffins was already on the back bumper, so by the time Fern had checked Alfredo up, there was nothing Boffins can do, and then just wadded up everybody. Connor Daly could not slow it down. He got into the 94 and then sent all of this into a cataclysmic shutdown in turns 3 and 4. Luckily for all these guys, though, majority of them have fast repairs. They didn't use them for the entirety of this duel, so they can use them right now and be very well okay for the rest of this race. But that is a huge shunt to guys like Ball Fence, to Daly, and a very good amount of guys who are just trying to survive for the top 18.
Well, and Jacob, I don't think that this league, it definitely does not shy away from some discussion. I'll put that in a friendly manner, and I think there's no doubt about it. After that wreck taking place over the in-game chat, there's some discussion going on, to say the least.
Yeah, Colin Fern isn't quite too happy, and I don't think Anthony Alfredo is either. They've been having a little bit of a discussion back and forth. Of course, Fern was the one that put the block on Alfredo. Alfredo then had to lift because he got in the back of Fern, and that's what got Belfons all squirrely in turn number 3 that caused that wreck. So we'll see. Maybe they learn from this, maybe they don't. But that's part of racing here at Daytona, and that's part of what makes the duel so fun. You can try and make a move, coming to the checkered flag, coming to the white flag, but if it doesn't work, it's just trial and error. You know not to do that in the big race next week, but you're going to have a lot of apologizing to do to the rest of the field that gets involved.
Certainly so. We know there's a fair share of apologies in Monday Night Racing to be able to make it this far and to be this aggressive. Again, the two drivers that really started around, I mean, you can hear a lot of discussion between Colin Fern, between Anthony Alfredo. At the end of the day, they are still sitting up here in the top 2 spots, so they don't really have as much to worry about. It's all the rest of the drivers that got collected in all of that calamity that really suffered through that. One driver this does help is Garrett Smithley, who repairs his race car and is able to wave around and get back onto the lead lap. So Smithley looked like it was all for naught, but he'll have an opportunity here on the first of a potential 3 green-white checkered attempts to work his way into that 18th spot. He'll restart in 24th, so really all he needs is about 6 spots, and he should be good to go. Colin Fern, Anthony Alfredo will start on your front row. But guys, I don't know what to expect here. I know that we're stacking them up. They're side by side. I just can't think of a way that they're going to step off the gas here. I know everybody up front, they're locked in, but I just don't think we're going to see anything cordial up front.
Well, that's true, Blake, and I also can't think of a situation where they do the same thing they did the last 2 restarts, immediately clump up single file on the very top. I don't think they're going to do that. I think what they're going to do is do the same thing everyone did in lap 1 to start this race when Barney threw the green flag out for the very first time, is that everybody was side-by-side gridlocked. I expect to see the same thing here, especially with this lineup. Gary Sexton giving help to Anthony Alfredo, and then Will Rogers, who's been supporting Colin Fern all night long, it seems like. So I figure this is going to be probably the most aggressive end to a duel we'll ever see. Maybe Duel 2 will top it. We've got a lot of great drivers here fighting for an entrance into the Sunrise 500 next week.
One driver did use their fast repair. It was actually Bernard Pollard Jr., who unfortunately hit the rear end of that car is really damaged, so we'll have to see if he's able to keep up there. He may need a little bit of help to try and transfer in through the top 18. Lights will go off on the pace car. Fern and Alfredo, your top 2, battle for the win, battle for track position in the Sunrise 500, and a battle to get into the show. Your top 18 will move on. 2 more laps to do it.
And Alfredo immediately gets ditched here on the restart. I was expecting Gary Sexton to hold tight behind the Chevrolet Camaro, but he does not. He immediately ducks down low behind the 65, and Alfredo has nowhere to go. Now finds space between himself and Steven Ellis, but look at the distance between the first and second pack coming out of turn 2.
This pack has splintered, and you know what happens when everybody gets strung out? It accordions together, and it looks like they may accordion on the last lap, so this may not be a said and done deal. The top 5 single file, then Dylan Welch a couple of car lengths behind as they come rocketing off corner number 4.
I'll tell you, they are duking it out further back here in the pack. It is all single file up front. Throw a white flag in the air. As long as we get to it, we'll see it through to the end. That's exactly what happens. Your top 5 content to run in line as they're wrecking in the tri-oval. Trouble, and that'll shake things up as far as the transfer is concerned. Another wreck up front.
It's a big crash all the way through the field. We'll see who comes out alive for P18. At one point, it looked like the battle for the transfer was not going to be that big of a deal, but we focus back to the leaders on the back straightaway, all single file. Here comes Gary Sexton to the inside.
Here comes Garrett to the inside. That shuffles Will Rogers to the outside. Nobody wants to go with Will. Colin Fern leads him around through turn number 3. Sexton not clear of pie. He tries to push Rogers up the hill. It's all Fern off 4.
Colin Fern doesn't have to worry about it as they get 3 wide behind them. Alfredo to the bottom, but Colin Fern out with a vengeance will win duel number 1. Our attention turns to that 18th spot. Ford Martin right now currently in control as a couple of damaged and destroyed race cars will try to limp their way home. I believe Martin, by timing and scoring, is going to be the last driver that may transfer in, and that is going to be the case. 152 miles an hour is going to be enough for your Thursday Night Thunder winner to just get into the show.
My goodness, Blake. I mean, think about it. He was there 3 wide at the start-finish line on Thursday night, celebrating what basically was his first M&R win in competition, and now he barely slithers into the Sunrise 500 that'll take place next week. And after that big wreck, it just separated everybody, and it was basically who had the engine at the end. A majority of them had blown motors. They could barely make it to the start-finish line by themselves on their own power. But one clean car who makes it under his own power clearly is Colin Fern. And I'll tell you, Blake, this is probably the best way to start off the season, apart from winning the Sunrise 500, is by dominating the last half of the duel and just making sure you can get on the redemption tour after the championship for last season.
Making a statement. I think that's exactly what Colin Fern wanted to do in this race. We'll take a look at your full field order here. Colin Fern wins it. Will Rogers was in line with him in second. Alfredo made a charge there at the end, but ends up in third. Gary Sexton will transfer into the 4th spot. Stephen Ellis finishes in 5th. Dylan Welch, also a contender who nearly won on Thursday night. He brings it home in 6th. George Ballfans in 7th. Ron Capps, got to give a shout out to Ron Capps, the Mopar family drag racing, part of the McCandless family as well. So shout out to Caps and his new team on his victory. Good to see him run 8th as well. Connor Daly, solid run out of that green 020, finishes in 9th. And DJ Cummings will round out your top 10.
Season 3 champion Robbie Lyons ends up just beneath the top 10, but in P11, that's good enough to get him into the big show. Max Cannon in the 21. He started 3rd tonight, a very solid outing for him until the very end. He finishes, though, back in P12. Case Kolomak started 19th and out of nowhere ends up 13th at the start-finish line. Your pole sitter in this duel, Garrett Smithley, was 1 lap down with 5 laps to go. Found that caution to bring us to green-white checkered, and he is 4 spots good to make it into the Sunrise 500. Josh Balicki had a really good evening so far in Duel 1. A lot of great super speedway moves, but he ends up 15th. Steve Alfont is the driver in P16 in the number 11 car. Mark Rebillis for Crypto Autosport is 17th, and his Crypto Autosport teammate, league owner Ford Martin, barely gets in after the insane final lap from everybody there. He starts 18th. He finishes 18th to get into the Sunrise 500. It's Brett Baldeck in 19th, Ruben Garcia in 20th. Both of those drivers, Jacob, having to go into the LCQ.
And the rest also have to go to the LCQ. Chris Wilner, Bernard Poller, Mike Clay. He was the car that got sideways, got turned in the tri-oval to set that whole crash off on the last lap. Then Michael Massey, and then Paul Sutton and Matt Stallnecht did not start. We've been told, though, that Stallnecht had some computer issues. Instead of being up on the booth for this second duel, he's going to be out on the racetrack.
Yeah, he is, and that is going to be a sight to see for sure. As we are going to, I believe we have caught up with your race winner, Colin Fern, able to get it done. One of your Championship 4 competitors last season, and Colin is somebody who was in that Championship 4. I know a lot of controversy around that, but what's kind of the feelings right now? You're able to come out right at the beginning of season 5 and get a win that I think makes a pretty big statement.
Yeah, that's a lot better than the season finale last year. So now it's a great start to the season. Gotta thank John, my spotter, and Jeremy helping me out. And John did a great job today. Let me know where the runs were coming from, and Will hung with me there the last 20 laps or so, and Gary was right there as well. So we all kind of stayed patient. I think I was just the lucky one that got to the front when we all calmed down, and it just paid off there at the end. But I think that's going to put me on the pole for next Monday, so I'm excited about that, and hopefully we can do the same thing.
I'll just ask you one more thing. I know this is a prelude. We're obviously looking forward to Daytona and the Sunrise 500 next week. Anything you kind of take away from tonight that you'll hopefully be able to apply next week?
Oh, yeah. Biggest thing is just don't let anybody get to your right rear. And, if someone wants to make a move to the bottom, that's why, other than the one time I threw the block that kind of stacked them all up, I didn't really throw any blocks down there just because we could put it on their right rear and drive away. But, coming back to the white, I was just really focused on making sure I had control, and whether it be the top or the bottom lane, just make sure I had control and making sure Will or I got to the checkered flag first.
All right, Colin. Well, we wish you the best. We know that you're going to be a contender, perhaps a favorite, depending on who you ask, in Season 5 this season. But we'll let you go watch Duel number 2 in peace. Congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right, so Colin Fern, your winner in the first Alpha Graphics Duel at Daytona. And, guys, I think if that's setting us up for Duel number 1, we were talking about the names in Duel number 2. It is going to be a stacked, and I repeat, a stacked field in Duel 2.
You know what? I don't think a Jenga tower, Blake, can top what Duel 2 is going to be in just a couple of moments. But, I mean, Duel 1 was insane. I was very surprised to see a lot of guys very aggressive to start the race. I know Colin Fern is an aggressive driver naturally, so he's going to be doing that stuff. But Rogers, Alfredo, Sexton, all those guys that were up at the front, they were making diving moves. Balfens was there, and it was incredible to watch. And I think that if we see that in Duel 1, Duel 2, with a lot of great super speedway talent we're going to see there, they're going to probably amp it up and crank it all the way past 11. And that may be a great preview, guys, to what we're going to see in the Sunrise 500.
I think so, Jacob, and I think Kenneth makes a great point. They're just the quality of the field of drivers. I know we had great drivers here in Duel number 1, but you think about the names: Kyle Busch, Parker Kligerman, Rajah Caruth, your most recent winner, TJ Majors, Malik Ray from the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. The who's who is here in Duel number 2.
And normally when you've got duel races, there's one duel that's pretty calm and collected, and then there's the other duel that is absolutely insane, full moon Saturday night racing. I thought this one was relatively calm. For those of you that thought this was a little too intense, just you wait until the second one with the drivers that we've got in it, the intensity of trying to make the big show for next week. There are going to be a lot of tore up race cars, I have a feeling, here in this next duel.
Well, I was about to ask which one is the crazy one, because I know that one was pretty crazy, but I think you're right. It may get even more in Duel number 2. And, of course, Duel number 2 will be up right after this. You're watching the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries as we roll on here with the Alpha Graphics Duels at Daytona. When we come back, it'll be Ford Martin, DJ Cummings as well. So we're going to throw Colin Fern up in the booth. Why not? As we'll continue the night on here at Daytona.
Favorite Monday Night Racing moment so far was actually this past season for the finale race. Just after the green flag, Shane Van Gisbergen wiped out Colin Fern out of the championship. And it's a bummer for Colin, but man, it made for great comedy.
Anytime Will Rogers gets wrecked, that's the best M&R moment whatsoever. If he's in the fence, then I'm a happy camper. I'm smiling behind my screen. So when Will Rogers gets wrecked, best time ever.
Turn 1 at Fontana. I think Iowa was really cool, playing the right strategy. Iowa in Season 4, playing the right strategy, getting the caution at the right time, and then having to sit there through a red flag for 15 minutes was stressful. And it was just funny to scroll through Twitter and watch everybody tuning in, enjoy that moment from everybody else's perspective, and being able to close out the win.
Otherwise, I guess I would say my 2 wins, but that's not fun. Probably any time that anybody's yelled at somebody, because then I get to laugh.
Favorite M&R moment, it raced like a super speedway. It would be when we were late models, super late models at Michigan, and I was able to finish 5th right behind the Ford Martin. Those were my best finishes of my career, but it raced exactly like super speedway.
It's actually my favorite and my least favorite moment at the same time. We're dating way back, Season 1 championship. You cross the finish line first thinking you win the championship, and then 5 minutes away it gets ripped away from you because of a bad move. But it's definitely something that you can get the best emotions and the worst emotions at the same time. But I think that was definitely one of my highlights in M&R, dating way back when to when we first got it started.
I really don't have much as a driver. I think really as a driver itself was racing against Mario Andretti and the season 1 finale. I thought that was such an incredible moment. Just the drivers that we've had in there. I mean, Dale Jr. racing with us, Kyle Busch raced with us many times he has. But I think racing Mario Andretti, passing Mario Andretti for the lead was pretty outstanding.
At Iowa, Gabe got really mad, and I forgot exactly what he said, but it was hilarious. And he got like his chat banned for the next race or something, or suspended. It was hilarious. I don't even remember what he said. Besides that, you could honestly just roll a clip of like times I've accidentally hit people or spun people. Those have been pretty funny M&R moments. Pretty big moments.
Next Monday,
And we are underway.
M&R is back as we set the field for the season opener under the lights in the Sunshine State.
We finally got one!
The Duels at Daytona, presented by Alpha Graphics, April 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern on Podium.
And welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, and it's time to bring on the second duel of the Alpha Graphics Duel at Daytona. Good evening, everybody. Alongside DJ Cummings, and it was supposed to be Matt Stolnick. Some internet issues made it where he had to compete in duel number 2, so we're going to bring in duel number 1 winner, Colin Fern, up in the booth. But guys, what a wild duel 1 we had there. We started to see a lot of single file racing toward the top in various times, but we're really in for a wild duel number 2 here.
Yeah, 100%. It was. It definitely had those moments where the field calmed down a little bit and we were kind of riding the top lane, and then when everybody wanted to get racy, that bottom lane started coming in, and you could see both lanes were definitely having their fair share of moments where we would see the bottom coming in every once in a while, and then every once in a while the top would start rolling a little bit more. Nobody was generous enough to try and feed the middle there, but I don't know. We might see that there in the Sunrise 500 next week, but I don't know. That was a pretty darn good race. I was just saying earlier, I'm sweating bullets after that. That's just super speedway racing for you.
And Colin, we got to ask, you kind of mentioned your post-race interview there for the win. What are you most looking forward to for next Monday now? What did you take from this race, and what are you going to apply to next week here for the Sunrise?
I think the biggest thing is this package with the next-gen car is a lot like the early 2000s Speedway package, where there's a top and there's a bottom, but there's also a sucker hole in the middle, and you do not want to be in that middle. You need to protect your right rear, need to protect your quarter panels, do not get side drafted. And the people that are aggressive and start pulling on quarter panels are probably going to be the ones that are successful, but they're also going to be the ones that are causing the melees. So just try to be out front and keep yourself out of trouble, and hopefully you're there at the end.
Were you guys surprised by the lot of single, with the way this package is, the lot of the single file racing that we saw toward the middle parts and even towards the later parts of the race? Was that surprising to you guys?
Not really. I feel like it was everybody was trying to, or at least anticipate that big wreck to happen and try and save the quick repair for when we really needed it, and that's what I ultimately ended up having to do there. I ended up getting caught in that last wreck there we had before the green-white checkered, and actually had to burn that quick repair. So I feel like that's kind of why we saw that single file racing. Every once in a while, if the run and the opportunity present itself, you did see us go double file there for the most part. But I feel like everybody with a qualifying race like this, you kind of don't want to be too aggressive and maybe wait to push the limits a little bit more until we get to the 500.
I will say, from my perspective, from up front, it was you wanted to be up top because if somebody went to the bottom, it was so much easier to pull on their right rear in a corner going from top to middle than it was going bottom to top. So just being able to control that pace from the outside and control the right rear on the quarter panel is a big, big help.
All right, guys. Now it's time to sit back and just kind of relax a little bit. I think we were kind of talking during break about how sweaty we are. Our palms a little sweaty here. It was a pretty frantic last few laps that we had there. Some drivers unhappy that they're moving on to the LCQ, but we turn our attention here to duel number 2. Any guys you have your eyes on here, and what has been called all week long after everyone was put in a random generator? Who's your pick right here? This is a stacked duel number 2 we got coming up.
I'm keeping my eye on Malik Ray and Raja Karuth. Those two are probably the best super speedway racers on the iRacing service that I'm aware of. And they're both in the same race here doing MNR. What are the odds? Those are the two I'm going to be keeping an eye on to see how they're going to push the limits here in the draft.
Yeah, and I think Raja Karuth is the one to beat. He spends a lot of time on here preparing for his real world racing, and I think he has a lot of seat time in this next gen car, especially on the super speedways. He'll be aggressive, he'll be fast, and he'll definitely be fun to watch.
So coming up now, starting qualifying, each driver will have 2 laps for qualifying, and we see one of the cars making their way on the track right now, Seth Eggert. Seth Eggert, part of the foundation of Monday Night Race with that kick in the tires Chevrolet. Been here since season 1, one of the first races, back when Monday Night Racing really started, back when it was called Monday Night NASCAR. It was one of the staples of MNR, and here sporting down the back straightaway, Seth Eggert here, and he's been one of those guys. And DJ, you've been a part of Monday Night Racing for a long time, and you've known Seth for a while, and he's really been a good guy for Monday Night Racing for a long time.
And super speedway racing, I think, is where Seth shines. So if you might not see him running out front all the time, but you can always seem to find him at the front at some point during a super speedway race. So I think that he's definitely another person to keep an eye on and see if he ends up finding his way up to the front as we get towards the closing laps of this second duel.
Now I wonder if some of these guys are going to be. Go ahead. I just wanted to see if these guys wanted to learn from duel number 1. I don't know if you guys saw, but Garrett Smithley won the pole. And he was really letting it open up on exit of the corner instead of keeping it right down on the yellow line. So I'm curious to see if any of these guys learned. Yep, Seth learned right there.
Yep, he's doing it.
Yeah, he's doing just that. And hey, here's a guy that finished second in the season opener last season. Just lost to David Schildhouse by half a car length last season. So kind of to your point there, DJ, he can really excel in super speed racing and kind of be there in the end. Kind of reminds you a little bit of a Michael McDowell. He's smart, lays in the back for the first bit, but when it gets towards the very end, you kind of see Seth Eggert there late in a few of these type races.
Yeah, absolutely. And this goes. He definitely falls under the category of a smart super speedway racer. And you and I had this conversation yesterday after we watched the Talladega race, as Seth puts down a 50.28, which is a very, very good lap. That there's the super speedway racers can fall into 2 different categories, kind of the smart super speedway racer and the aggressive super speedway racer. And sometimes you can get a nice combination of both. I think Seth definitely falls into that smart super speedway racer. As what do you know? Raja Karuth, 50.26, currently top of the board.
Curious to know what you think I fall in under there.
Aggressive.
Okay.
Aggressive.
Hey guys, speaking of another aggressive driver, we're on board here with David Schildhouse, sporting out some new colors this week with Toby Christie, but also DoorDash on the hood. That's a sporty looking paint scheme we have here for the Night Net 20 car.
Yeah, and that was an awesome announcement.
Yeah, it looks like Kurt Busch when he won the 500 a few years ago with the Haas and the Monster.
That's right. I was actually at that race. That was a great finish with all those guys running out of gas, and then Kurt making that pass on Ryan Blaney going out of turn 2, and then he was basically 5 car lengths to the lead for the last half of that lap. That was awesome.
Here's a guy.
You guys just met, Malik Ray. Yeah, go ahead there. Yeah, Malik Ray here on board with him, Colin.
Yeah, and it's curious to see if he's going to make any. Yep, there he goes to the bottom. See if he can get anything. Cabot put down a great lap. And
Season 4 champion Adam Cabot up to the top of the board.
Malik, top of the board.
There you go.
Yeah,
And Colin, we saw a little bit of this during the race on Thursday night. You know, Malik, we saw during that little, money race we had. He's a guy that likes to stay up front, likes to control both lanes. Kind of similar to kind of your racing style that we see a lot. He likes to control both lanes, an aggressive driver, coming from the Coke Series, making one of his very few appearances this season for Monday Night Racing.
Yeah, Malik is really, really talented. He's been great on the service for a long, long time. And just his experience and being able to race against the guys he races with on the Coke Series, he learns. And he's consistently fast. And once he stays out of trouble on Tuesdays, he'll be racing for wins on there too. Nick Olson, top of the board.
I don't think anybody expected that one.
Absolutely not. He's new to the Pro Series, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He raced in the Road to Glory Series last season and ended up finishing, I believe, second in the Road to Glory points behind our champion Presley Sora, who is currently running P9 on the board.
This duel is much faster than our duel. I think we had 2 people in the 20s, and they got 17 in the 20s.
I believe it was Garrett Smithley's pole time was like a 2:72, and the top 9 drivers here were faster than that. So to say that this is a stacked duel might be an understatement, and they're kind of putting us to shame. So we'll see if that transfers over into the racing.
Well, that many fast guys, that means that there's going to be a lot more aggression out there. And just as everybody got frustrated with me in the first duel, there's going to be people here that want to win, whether it's a duel race or not. So I'm hoping we can see some aggressive racing, some clean racing, and see if these guys have watched duel number 1 and see what they can apply that they learned.
So 35 laps, same rules as the last event. So they will have 1 fast repair at their disposal. 35 laps, no yellow line rule. Let's go ahead and meet the BST Brian Shock Technology starting grid. And there it is, P1 Nick Olson, Malik Gray, a couple newcomers to Monday Night Racing for this season.
And in row 2, we will have our Season 4 champion, Adam Cabot, running P3, and then P4, Coke Series driver, Matt Busa.
And a couple of guys down here, Dakota Curtis, Rajah Caruth. Ford number 13 was a 44 this season. Now the 13, Leighton Siebel and David Schildhouse back in P8. Sporting a new team this season with the Charlotte Phoenix guys, and Presley Sora and Brandon Brown round out your top 10, Colin.
Yeah, starting 11th, Seth Eggert. We talked about him earlier in qualifying. Justin Malillo, P12.
Row 7, we'll have NASCAR Xfinity Series driver Ryan Vargas and his Charlotte Phoenix teammate James Bickford. They are right next to him in P14.
We make our way down. TJ Majors, one of the few guys from Crypto Autosport. He knows a thing or two about super speedway racing. Gabriel Wood, and that 50 for JD Motorsports. And on to Parker Kligerman. He said this season he wants to go for the championship. He appeared in a few races here and there. He actually led the all-time wins, but Shane Van Gisbergen took that away. So Parker Kligerman in that P17 position with Bailey Turner on the outside P18.
P19, Boris Cook.
Go ahead.
Boris Cook, P19, Brad Perez, P20, NASCAR Camping World Truck Series driver, Brad Perez, that is.
Hey, Colin, you should probably stick more to the racetrack here. Stick to the racetrack more than this announcement. I think we kind of, I don't really think this is really suited for you right here, but landing up here, P22 and Matt Stolnick, who was supposed to be in Duel 1, had a couple internet issues, was pushed to the back. Charlie Brown around out your field, Ford Martin. I don't know why that guy should, but he was not racing. He's in the broadcast.
He's in that's where he belongs over there.
I was about to say, I don't think he's racing again.
35 laps as we are going to make our way onto the racetrack. And guys, last minute thoughts before we go green here, and especially if you're a Duel 1 driver that's being pushed to the LCQ, what can you learn from in this type of race that you can apply to your race on the LCQ coming up?
Well, you're only going to have a hand. Let's see, I got to work on this. Go ahead, DJ.
Yeah, I was about to say, we ain't no professional broadcasters. No, I think the biggest thing for these guys that got bumped to the LCQ is really just taking what you learned and seeing like if it makes sense running up front the whole time, or maybe laying back a little bit and seeing if people get caught in wrecks and maybe burn their quick repair, and just see what worked best for you and what's most comfortable for you. Honestly, some people is like, I need to get to the front right now and see if I can avoid most of the chaos, or some people just be like, nope, I'm going to hang out in the back. I'm going to stay back as far as possible and see what happens.
Well, on their way here for the parade lap, 35 laps coming up here at Daytona International Speedway for the Interstate Batteries Series we have here coming up today. On to turns 3 and 4, double up. It's going to be a wild one right here. Buckle up, and here they come, coming off turn 4. Pace car is about to make its way. Nick Olson, Malik Ray are going to lead their way coming down the pit road as they make their way to the Keller Williams restart zone. And they're actually going to add a lap to the pace car. So we're going to add one more lap in the parade lap. So guys, now it's even the nerves are kicking in more. You saw how crazy duel number 1 was in the last session. Now we're coming up for duel number 2. Now the nerves are going to kick in a little bit more as we go on board here at James Bickford. He actually has a new setup this season. He was running a very challenging setup that we saw last season. Colin, you were there at the championship event. You were able to see it, and you know how challenging that setup was. So he's got a new setup in the rig this season. He's pretty excited about this year.
Yeah, that guy raced with no force feedback, which I still to this day do not understand how. That is a special talent, because I need to feel when I'm racing that wheel tugging out of my hand whether I'm getting loose or getting tight. So props to him for being as fast as he was with no force feedback. There's Brandon Brown. Not the Brandon Brown I work for. This one's a little better on the simulator.
You still got to talk to the Brandon Brown you work for and try and get him into one of these races.
Man, I'd love to. He's actually on a beautiful SimSeats rig that he partnered up with them and has at his house over there in Troutman. So I'd love to get him on here. I think we ought to do a Brandon Brown versus Brandon Brown head-to-head.
Something we could definitely work on here. Charlie Brown, that 58 here, had a little bit of trouble in that exhibition race that we had on Thursday night. Up to him earlier. He's looking to rebound and kind of seek a little redemption. He says he's going to take his time and kind of figure out his place in this field and let things calm down. He said he's going to be there in the end. So here we come. Pace car lights are off. Nick Olson on the bottom in his Chevrolet. Malik Ray on the outside in his bright blue and white Ford. His car makes its way off. Nick Olson will lead the field. Barney the flag man with his flag in the air. They reach the Keller Williams restart zone. Green flag is on the way. And here we go from the Monday Night Racing Pro Series Alpha Graphics Duel number 2.
Watch for Malik to just pull away here and bring them all to the top. He's got the lead. If he can get clear, he's going to bring them all to the top and just kind of get them all in line. He's got his teammate running third in the outside lane, Raja Cruz.
And you see Matt Busa there also giving Malik a hell of a push coming out of the top lane. That top lane's going to start rolling pretty quickly. So you got Ray, Busa, Caruth, Shieldhouse, Presley Sora, all there in the top lane, and they are rolling quickly as they're heading down into turn 3.
So, but he needs to understand that Malik's teammate Raja Caruth is up in the outside line. Busa, if he doesn't get clear, he's going to follow all the way back to Nick Olson, third on the inside line.
He's got to watch out. He might get freight trained here. Yep, there goes Nick Olson up the middle. See if he has any help. Yep, Adam Cabot goes right there with him. And Malik Ray leads lap 1.
And all that does when they get side by side like that is give the top line more momentum to drive away.
Yeah, we definitely noticed that. It seemed like the bottom lane for about a lap or so, if they were side by side, it made that one lane just start taking off, and it would take at least 3 or 4 laps before that bottom lane could start picking up any momentum again. So we'll see what that bottom lane could do here as they the first about 6 or 7 cars they're riding the top lane.
The top lane now trying to figure out who's going to make that move. You have one car down there in the bottom trying to make a move. That's your reigning champion, Adam Cabot, trying to make the charge on the bottom. He's got a few cars of them there, and here comes Malik Ray. They're going to charge and make their way back down to the bottom as they make their way to the start-finish line to conclude lap 2. Lap 3 coming up with David Shieldhouse. We're working the top. And number 20, DoorDash, but we jumped right in front of him. There's Adam Cabot.
And that was a great move by Cabot, knowing that Malik and Raja are going to stay together. He didn't guarantee himself falling any farther back than third in the outside line. He knew they were going to come right back up there.
It is going to be very difficult to get Malik Ray and Raja Caruth off of each other's bumpers. So let's keep an eye and see if anybody is able to separate them at all, because I think if those two are locked together, it's going to be difficult to stop them.
I will say the one thing I learned in that outside line is when the second car is pushing the first car, physically bumping them, it actually slowed the line down more. So we'll see if they pick up on that and kind of keep that air gap all the way around the racetrack and see if it helps them pull more momentum on next into the corner.
And like we had mentioned earlier, we say, well, like I said, about 3 or 4 laps it might take for that bottom lane to cut in a little bit. Here we see it at that bottom lane now catching up, running 2x2 with the top lane. And we see somebody, it looks like James Bigford's going to give the middle a shot. Doesn't look like he's got any help with them back there, but they're running 2x2 here as they head down the backstretch.
Is not
guys, any surprise here? Busa, and then you got now you got Dakota. Now you got Malik Ray in that second spot. 2 Coke drivers leading the way here at Daytona for Monday Night Racing. I don't think that was a big surprise to anybody that's watching and tuning in right now.
Dakota Curtis is actually clear on the bottom line with Leighton Sabile. Paul Leighton gets clear. Leighton to the outside.
And Leighton over there from Petty GMS. He jumps to the outside, and that 43.
Boost is going to have to jump back
what a tight move. Roger Caruth in the back. Squeezed his way down into the bottom as we were at lap 5 and make their way into turn 1. Busa with the lead.
I'm really shocked right now. I did not think Raja was going to leave Malik Ray hanging out to dry. I thought those two were going to stick together for the entire race. So I'll be very curious to see what these guys do here.
Leighton's got to get clear. Busa 3 wide top.
Oh, they're going to
split. Somebody's going to get stuck in the middle here. Somebody's going to get stuck with them.
Anybody go with Busa? Shieldhouse makes his way to the bottom, but that allows Busa to get inside. Presley Sora now to his rear bumper. Lap 5 coming to lap 6. Sybil in the lead. Malik Ray leading that charge on the outside as they make their way to the line. And DJ, just like we talked about there in the qualifying, losing that 3rd spot on the bottom. Seth Eggert making his way to the front.
I told you, he's that smart play racer. He makes those like small calculated moves that just get him to move those couple of spots here and there just to get him up to the front. We'll see if he can. We'll see if he can keep up there, hanging out there at 3rd in that bottom lane.
Stack down the backstretch they go. Malik Ray getting a big push from last year's reigning champion Adam Cabot. Do they go to the bottom? Yes, they do. And Busa is going to go with them. He's going to go with this fellow Coke driver. Nope, he's going to go with Cabot. Now Busa to the bottom. Malik Ray trying to get a little side draft there. Sybil into the back rear end. But here he is, your defending champion on stage last season in Charlotte. Adam Cabot with the lead here on lap 7.
And right now, he's going to have to protect that right rear. You see Leighton going up top. If Busa gets clear, he's going to go up top. Protect the right rear. Do not let anybody get there. Right now, he needs to jump up in front of Leighton Sabile. He's going to have the momentum. If he doesn't, he's going to get past.
Leighton did a really good job there getting down to the middle lane and trying to use that side draft off of Matt Busa there to get himself back up and get that momentum down the backstretch. And it looks like they're doing it right now as Busa is pushing, or Malik Ray's pushing Leighton Sabile there hard down the back, and he just bails out on the dives to the bottom.
Leighton needs to put it right down on his quarter panel, stall him out. And now he needs to get back up and protect the right rear for Presley Sora.
What a move on the bottom. Malik Ray. Sybil on the outside. Couple newcomers to Monday Night Racing. Presley Sora, the Road to Glory champion for Monday Night Racing from last season. Earned his way into a spot. Now he's that second car on the top, giving that 43 a big push. But Malik Ray still leading the charge on the bottom. You look towards the back. I mean, you look at a guy like Matt Stolnick. Matt Stolnick, he's wanting a caution right now. He missed the start. He's 23 seconds off the field. He's wanting to see a little more action here later on. But lap 8, coming to lap 9, Adam Cabot back in charge of the lead.
And the biggest thing you got to watch for when they're pushing is getting off center. You see Leighton, you see Busa very organized, very square on the back bumper. But when Presley Sora was pushing Leighton Sabile, they got off center and they'll cost the outside line a ton of momentum.
See a couple of guys trying to make the middle work there about halfway down the pack. It just seems like not that many people are trying it.
Oh, Cabot lost the right rear. There goes Busa to the lead. He got to the right rear. Cabot.
Ruth tried to make it 3 wide and trying to make it work to the outside of James Bigford. It's not going to happen. So see if they squeeze in line. He will. So another big move by Roger Caruth, and I feel like it's a matter of time before he gets back up there. But hey, I don't think Bigford liked that. He tried to poke in line in the middle. Oh, better against it. Bailey turned that 5, tried to stay behind him as we ride on board here. Ryan Vargas, the Charlotte Phoenix team. Ryan had a big weekend. Talladega qualified well, which he's really done these super speedway races. Had a solid weekend. Got caught up in a wreck late, but still good qualifying effort by the 6 in Talladega this past weekend.
100%. I mean, you got to feel for a team like that. It's just you qualify really well. You played the strategy right, only ending up getting caught up in someone else's wreck at the end there. You really feel for a team like that. But this seems a little unorthodox. Ryan Vargas is one of those people, especially on a super speedway race. He's always one of those people that wants to get to the front immediately. He's been riding back there about like that 10th to 15th range there, just hanging out, trying to see if it's trying to see how everything plays out. But still, that top one. Oh, we got a couple of guys. Malik Ray and Presley Sore both dive to the bottom, leaving Matt Boos out there in the top lane hanging out to dry. Hopefully, Nick Olson could get up there, get that top lane rolling again.
Hey, you talking about Vargas riding in the back? I don't think that's by design. You know, we all talked before the race. My plan was to ride in the back for duel number 1. And then I did some practice laps and realized how difficult it was going to be to pass. I had to qualify. I had to get up front because it was going to be hard to go from the back to the front. And I think that's a factor what you're seeing right now with Vargas, with how difficult it is to get by when there's 2 lanes just stalled out, not going anywhere.
100%. And we see these 2 Fords, Malik Ray, Matt Busa, going back and forth between top lane, bottom lane, just trying to pick whichever lane has the best momentum right now. Right now, they're picking the top with Presley Sore and Nick Olson there following. But you got Lane Sabille and Adam Cabot. Oh, Adam Cabot just leaves Sabille out to dry, and that's only going to make the top lane roll way better because there's no help there on the bottom. Layton did get up there in front of Bailey Turner. And then James Bickford tries to dive to the bottom, and it just checks up everybody. You see, well, they're going to be coming up here on the lap car. Matt Stallneck, we'll see how this shakes up the field at all. But that top lane, those first 5-6 cars are still rolling pretty well.
Yeah, and you see them making the move on the exit of the corner, going to the bottom. The top to the bottom move does not work on exit of the corner. You have to do that on entry. You have to be able to get the shorter radius. When you do it on exit, all it does is put more wheel, cause more friction, and slow the car down.
At Stallneck now trying to use a little bit of that side draft here. And it's important for him to know, like, there is no need for you to be up there in that top, kind of ride in the back a little bit. You're going to get the lucky dog as long as you stay with these guys if a caution does come out. So it's important for him to know, kind of shuffle the front pack there a little bit. They're still double stacked, but here comes Raja Caruth. He's made and forced his way to the front, and here he is, Raja Caruth rocketing to the front.
You knew it wasn't going to take long after him and Malik Ray got separated. The Raja was going to find his way back up to the front and hook up with Malik Ray. So now that they're back together, let's see what kind of magic they can make there right in the top lane.
Look at some of these names that are outside the top 18 right now, guys. You got Brandon Brown, TJ Majors, David Schildhouse, one of the Championship 4 contenders from last year. Some solid names outside the top 18 transfer.
And here comes Matt Busa on the bottom. Sabille trying to give him a huge push. And here's a guy we haven't talked about much. How about Landon Huffman? Here, that 4th car on the bottom. He was the last car at one point on this pack besides the lap car of Matt Stock in the 41. Here comes Landon Huffman. Started 21st, making his way to the front as Busa goes to lead. He's going to find the rear bumper of Raja Caruth. Huffman now trying to get up there as Malik Ray squeezes on the bottom here. He's going to lead that bottom charge, but Busa still leading the top up there.
Top lane has got it, but you see Presley Sore just drops the elevator shaft there on the bottom, and he's going to run that bottom lane now with Malik Gray and Raja Caruth also down there on the bottom lane. But Matt Boos is still commanding the top with Leighton Siebel and Nick Olson and Bailey Turner there on the outside lane.
Matt Boosin now leading that top, but Nick Olson, he fell back for a little bit. Now he's starting to make his way to the front. Presley Sora now on the bottom, no help. He's going to get a little help from Landon Huffman. Squeeze his way back up there. He's getting some help from Brandon Brown. Like Colin mentioned, not that Brandon Brown. Brandon Brown sporting the colors from the North Wilkesboro and the big revival of that short track. Good to see that happening. But here's a battle for the lead. Poking out of line. It's a build to the bottom. Can he clear up? No, he can't, but he'll get right in front of Malik Gray, who's got his good buddy Raja Caruth right over his rear bumper.
Right there, Malik wanted to go to the middle, but he couldn't because he knows if he did, it was just going to stall their line out. He needs to push Leighton Sabille. He needs to get to the side draft of the guys on the outside and get the shorter radius in the corners.
One thing I've noticed in this race versus our race is these guys are not content running single file at all. You might see them run single file for about half a lap, and then the run just presents itself, and they're like, nope, I'm dropping to the bottom. We're just going to go 2x2. So definitely these guys are getting really racy up here as we're almost at halfway.
I got to thank them because them running side-by-side guarantees that I led the most laps. Therefore, I'm going to start on the pole next Monday, so I appreciate them racing.
Exactly.
Blow down on that bottom. members from Petty GMS Racing in tonight's show. Flex his muscle as he's guarding the top lane. Here comes Malik Ray. Being a big push from Raja Caruth, but Boost is getting a bigger one. Ford pushing a Chevy to the front, but another Ford there hanging on the bottom. Some Chevy horsepower, that little bow tie power from the 13. He rockets Malik Ray to the front. First time those two have been 1-2 all night. They'll move to the top. And how about that? What a move there from the 13 and the 7.
If these guys just work together right here, guys, if they look, the top 18 are separated about 1.7 seconds over 19th on back. If these 18 guys just rode right here, they're all in the show Monday. But I don't see that happening.
After watching our race, there's no way that's going to happen. These guys are way too racy, and I feel like they're gonna try and fight for all the positions they can get as these guys just keep shuffling top lane, bottom lane, top lane, just to find the right lane that's running at that time. And it seems like we got the top lane here still running, still got the momentum as you got the dynamic duo of Malik Ray and Raja Caruth there commanding the top.
Yeah, Colin, let me ask you. You got these guys in the very back. They're single file. They're starting to lose the draft a little bit. They're getting single file, which is extremely important. How important is it just to remain patient, not make any big moves, just catch the pack? And really, is this just more of like they know, they saw what happened at Duel 1. They're just biding their time. They're waiting. They know what's about to happen. What lane is we right here with David Schildhouse? He's right behind TJ Majors. What is your thought process for a guy like David Schildhouse right now?
Well, I think David Schildhouse is smart enough and has enough experience to know that he knows if they're going to wreck, and he's just trying to stay out of trouble. And right here, I don't even think he's trying to make a pass. I just think he's trying to get away and make it visible. As you see Malik Ray off the pace on the bottom.
We just saw Parker Kligerman just went around in that Country USA Chevrolet, making his way. He's going to ride there with Ryan Vargas. Like Malik Ray may have had a problem. Not sure exactly what happened there. And Parker Kligerman's going to slide up in line in front of Malik Ray. Kligerman slowly making his way. He's been quiet the first half, trying to make some noise in the second. Ray is going to go with Kligerman. What's he going to do? He's going to stay on the bottom. As take a look at those two other guys. Raja Caruth falling to the back now. That's a big story development. He's working with Charlie Brown.
I got a pretty good feeling that Raja Caruth might have overheated his stuff trying to push Malik Ray way too hard and had to back himself up a little bit just to cool his engine down. And I think he might have lost the draft, unfortunately.
Well, look at here, guys. You got talk about the Road to Glory series from last year. You got 3 of the top 4 that transferred in from the Road to Glory series right here. Knowlton, Turner, and Sora. All those guys riding behind Leighton Sabile, another newcomer. It just goes to show anybody can come into this league and really make a difference.
Yeah, it really goes to show you that these guys ain't no slouches, and they can compete with the best of us here in the Pro Series. So really awesome to see that these guys are up here running front here in duel number 2 as Leighton Sabile continues to lead in that top lane as we got Parker Kligerman, Adam Cabot, and Ryan Vargas trying to develop a run there on the bottom lane. And Malik Ray, he's going to try and push a 3 wide. Let's see if that works.
Will not.
Yeah, they're trying to make it. And he's getting some help from his fellow Coke driver. It's boosted down to his rear bumper. Kyle Long Motorsports, but Adam Cabot giving Parker Kligerman a big push there on the bottom. And we talked about it earlier. A guy like Parker Kligerman, you know, he's doing great work in the real life stuff and has had some solid runs in the Truck Series this season. He's right outside the playoff marker, not running a full season, but he's just outside that the playoffs and the real life stuff with the Camping World Truck Series. Having a great season at 75, and here he is leading that charge there on the bottom as Malik Ray comes to the bottom here. And guys, we saw it like in that first race. A lot of these guys start to get single file on the outside, and that bottom starts to develop, goes away a little bit, then it comes back, and I think that's what makes this package so special there, Colin.
Yeah, and honestly, I've been one of the biggest critics of the next gen car and the racing it produces, but the speedway racing, especially with iRacing developing their side draft model and the drafting package that they have, it makes it so fun, so realistic, and these guys can be super aggressive in the side draft. And to see Nick Olsen truck go down, grab the quarter panel right there, and install the outside out. Sabile's going to have to get back up here, or else Olsen's going to grab the right rear and be able to carry the momentum.
That's probably one of the coolest things that iRacing has done, is just the ability you're able to just side draft somebody there in the draft and get that run and the momentum off the corner, trying to develop that run down the backstretch or even going into the tri-oval. Just seeing the physics behind the being able to side draft in this next gen car is really something impressive to see.
Take a look at what happened with Raja Caruth. We'll see if it was that overheating issue here as you saw him back over there pushing Charlie Brown. And that's what the issue that we probably saw is it's tough luck for Raja Caruth early on. So far for him, getting a big push with Charlie Brown. They might be looking as, oh, trouble. He actually turned Charlie Brown. And Raja Caruth, can he hold on to it? He does.
Nice save.
He is going to need a caution, and a caution bad, to get back in it. And Colin, for a guy like Raja, as aggressive as he is, in his position, what do you tell him as a friend of his, or maybe a spotter? Is it more just a, hey, like, we got a long race to go, anything can happen. We saw what happened in duel number 1. We got to remain calm here. Is that kind of thing that you're telling your driver and Raja right now?
I mean, there's nothing you can tell him that's going to make him feel better, right? He's in a position where he needs a caution, and you never want to hope for a caution for other people. But he's in a position where he needs one. There's nothing he can do, so there's no need to overdrive it. There's no need to push somebody super hard. You're just going to have to ride.
13 laps to go, coming to 12. They're starting to get nail-biting time. A couple cars back to the transfer spot, still going at it. Sybil, Kligerman, Ray, Cabot, Olsen, all a little tight squeeze at the bottom as Sybil goes to the top. He cuts back down to the bottom right in front of Kligerman. 12 laps to go. Ray leading the charge on the top. Does Kligerman go high? No, he is going to go high. Sybil will go high with them. How about Sybil? He has really controlled this second half of the race here so far, DJ.
Yeah, really impressive from that 43 Petty GMS Chevrolet there. But I'm keeping an eye here on Parker Kligerman to see what he can do as Malik Ray now dives at the bottom underneath Adam Cabot, and Sybil will go down there with him. Parker has started towards the back and is now just making his way up to the front, along with Ryan Vargas. I said he was hanging out there in about 14th, 15th earlier. He's right up there in the front of it, right as we're getting down to crunch time.
Leighton is doing a phenomenal job, guys, protecting his right rear quarter panel. He's not letting anybody get there. He's letting them go to the inside if they need to. He's just protecting the right rear. He's doing a great job. You see it again right there. Cabot had a run, and Malik just protects the right rear. Now he goes down inside drafts on the right rear, and he'll have the momentum off of turn 2.
As we were just talking, looking at David Schildhouse on his front bumper, I mean, he's riding 19th. He's right there for that transfer spot. How important is it right now for a guy like him? We just talked about patience with Raja Caruth. Look at 11 to go here. Do you make that charge in the middle? When is the time to take and go to the front?
It's too early. I think right now there's so much time, there's so much stuff that could happen here as we got 40 more corners to go here, coming to 10 to go. I think if you're Schildhouse, and if it's getting antsy up there, you hang out just for a little bit more, and then I think maybe another 5 to 6 laps, and then you make your charge.
Yeah, if I'm David right now, I'm just getting in that single file outside line because the bottom's going to keep developing and fading and keep developing and fading. There's always going to be 1 or 2 guys that are going to fade down to the bottom, and it's just going to let you keep rolling up on the outside line. I would just get single file, even if you're the last car on the outside line, just get single file on the outside line and stay there. Wait till you're in the top 18 and then eventually going on and try to make your move. But for now, just get in the top line, ride, pick off the positions that come easy to you, and go from there.
And it looks like we're about to see that here, similar to what we had here in our race in the first duel. That top line is just going to start to roll, and we'll see if that bottom lane can start forming up. It seems like we got about 10 cars there on that bottom lane. We'll see if it can form up any more and develop some momentum as that top lane continues to be the dominant one.
9 laps to go. Crunch time coming up. These guys appear in the front. Edge of the keeper. Oh, how about Parker Kligerman? Is he going to stack the field up a little bit? No, they're 3 wide. Boosted now is going to be
Boost is in the sucker hole.
Oh, what a move, Kligerman. That was a huge save. I'm not sure how he hung on to that one, but I'm not sure how a guy like Boosa feels because now he's being split. Here comes TJ Majors to the outside. Now Landon Huffman's being split. But Majors, does he try to let Landon Huffman in line? No, not right now, but 75 car Boosa is starting to fall back here.
You just got to stay on the outside. Don't protect your right rear. Protect your right rear.
Four wide now, and now it's crunch time. 3 wide, they'll hang on to it. 8 laps to go here from Daytona. Do they spin? Do they keep it going? But the front 10 cars, at least right now, are single file.
Guy was watching right there in the middle of that madness was that bright orange 63 car, Boris Cook from JGR. He was making a charge up the middle, trying to see if he could make that lane work. Looks like he was able to, so he's now running 8th. Malik Ray and Landon Huffman trying to develop a lane.
And he got to the right rear. Olsen got to the right rear. He's going to have
move by Nick Olsen.
Olsen now working the top. Sybil on the bottom. Malik Ray his pusher, Bailey Turner, Olsen's pusher, a couple Road to Glory guys working that top with Parker Kligerman along the outside. Busa, who was split 3 wide middle, made his way back up there. And then how about a guy like Boris Cook? He's been really quiet this first half. Now he's starting to make his way up there towards the top.
The biggest thing right here Nick Olsen can do is let them go to the bottom. It does not matter. Let them go to the bottom. You stay on the outside. Protect your right rear from the guy behind you. If you can side draft, but don't force anything. Just protect the right rear.
Boris
Cook,
two by two.
I think if you're running 2x2 here down the straightaway, you don't want to be like running on the double yellow line out all the way up against the wall. If you're that top lane, you want to be running right next to that guy running the inside lane so you can get that side draft off as Leighton Sabile now makes that push up, and we got a caution on the speedway.
Caution, and Seth Eggert's involved, and I tell you what, that was just the best thing that a guy like Matt Stolnick, Roger Caruth, and Charlie Brown could have ever seen. So 6 laps to go, the caution is out. Let's take a look here. Our Podium eSports replay, and back there at Dakota Curtis, looks like they were trying to go around James Bickford and trying to come up, and Seth Eggert all over the place.
What a miss by TJ.
Oh man, what a miss by TJ. Wow, did Shieldhouse get any contact there? Man, that was close.
It's going to be close. Let's take another ride here with Seth Eggert. Now let's take a ride here with David Shieldhouse, see if he makes this through.
It's probably right here is where he starts hitting the brakes. Now, well, maybe. Nothing. Wow, he didn't hit a single thing. What a great job by David Shieldhouse.
I don't know, you don't want to tear up that beautiful DoorDash TobyChristie.com paint scheme. What a move and what a save there from David Shieldhouse, avoiding that. Tough luck there for a guy like James Bickford and Dakota Curtis, who we saw up there in the early going, trying to stay up there, but here comes Matt Stolnick. He's had a heck of a night, and DJ, you know, you and I are good friends with Matt. Had some internet issues, missed duel number 1, and duel number 2, he missed the start. He's been a lap down this entire race. Now it's his opportunity in that Tough Go Chevrolet to get back into this race, because, boy, he really needs it. He had a tough start, at least this season.
Oh, yeah, and you can tell right now he's got a big smile on his face because he was able to avoid all of that chaos and all of that aggressive racing that we had there that first 30 laps. So he's going to get that wave around and join the back of that pack with a fresh race car.
Here we go, guys. Sybil, Olsen, Ray, Turner, Huffman, Kligerman, Cabot, Busa, Brown, Cook. You guys got here as we as who's going to start alongside Colin Fern here. I'm not going to let you answer this right now. I'm going to let D answer this first. I think the standalone start alongside Colin here is about maybe 2 laps to go before we get the green.
As crazy it is to think, it's definitely not out of the picture, but I'm looking at these guys outside the top 10, like your Brad Perez's, your Ryan Vargas, like your Justin Malillos, those type of people that have a shot, that are definitely not out of it by any stretch of the imagination, that might have a shot at trying to maybe avoid a last lap wreck or trying to get all their way up to the front. So I'm keeping an eye from like Ryan Vargas all the way down to Matt Stolnick. All these guys still in it, still got a chance to win it.
Right, Colin, now we're going to ask you, who is the guy that you have your eyes on here as we get the restart here in a little bit?
Well, I'm going to say Malik Ray, and I'll tell you why. Because when I was leading the Duel 1 coming to the end of this race, I had Will Rogers, and we had a plan on each restart. We were going to hook up and get together. I don't know that Leighton, Nick, Malik, Bailey, Landon, any of them have any affiliations up front right now. And so Malik, being as experienced as he is, he has to be the man to beat. He's going to restart second on the inside line. He's going to be able to give Leighton a good shot out there. If he can get some help behind him and force some guys to push him, he's going to be the guy to beat.
So here we go, guys. 4 laps to go. Going to be green next time by. Lights are out. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. The Alpha Graphics Duel at Daytona for the first race of the season. And the season opener is next week for the Sunrise 500, starting at nighttime, ending in the daytime, ending the sunrise, that is. And guys, how special is that going to be for next week? A new marquee event, $400 to win, as we're moments away before we go green flag here and duel number 2.
I'm thrilled. I can't wait for it. It's definitely something unique, and I think that's what M&R's motto is just the uniqueness of the car, track, weather combinations, and it's making something just like this with the Sunrise 500 is something special, and it's going to be really awesome, especially based on the product that we've seen from these two dual races.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great race. Everybody's going to be super aggressive. Everybody wants the bragging rights. There's no points racing in the first race of the year. Everybody goes for the win. Worry about points later on. It's going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining for sure. So make sure you guys tune in.
Here we go. 3-lap shootout. See who is going to make the show. Last 19th on back. They advanced the LCQ, which you'll stay with us right here. I want to thank you again for tuning in to the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. Here we go. Pace car lights are off. Olsen on the outside. Sybil on the inside. A couple newcomers. Monday Night Racing. Pace car is off. They make their way to the Keller Williams restart zone. And they fire off. Green flag back in the air. 3 laps to go here from Daytona.
Olsen's really going to have to put it on Sabile's door here, but also protecting his right rear. You do not want to be put in the sucker hole from the front row.
As we see them start to spread out, Olsen with the advantage with Bailey Turner giving him a shove there on the outside lane. Malik Ray giving Leighton Sybil a shove and doing a really good job doing it with Landon Huffman following them on the inside line as they head down the back. Still 2x2.
See Boris Cook trying the third line. He's got some help about 3 lanes back. I don't think it's going to be enough. You do not want to go to the middle.
On the top here, Olsen giving a big push to Sybil. Landon Huffman there on the bottom with Malik Ray, the Coke Series driver, making one of the very few appearances in Monday Night Racing this season. Couple guys back there, 3, 4 wide maybe. Now back to 2, trying to make their way into the transfer spot. Couple guy like Matt Stolnek, he went 3 wide on the top there at the bottom of your screen. Now he's back in line. 3 wide, still back there for the transfer spot. Here's Roger Caruth, who had some issues early in the race. Now he's back up there, but starting to fall back a little bit, trying to make that middle work. Can squeeze up in front of someone, doesn't have much help. Now he's finally got some help. That's TJ Majors back there, but he goes to the top.
And not enough help there in the middle lane, but now we got Boris Cook trying to go for it there in the middle lane. It looks like he does, but he's not going to have any help there with him, so he's going to have to file up into the top lane, which he does right there behind 41 and Matt Stolnek. And they're still rolling 2x2, top lane with the advantage as Leighton Sybil has the lead. And we're coming to the white flag here, guys.
Got 3 wide back in the pack. Top line's going to roll. They can stack in the outside. Little contact between TJ Majors, Raja Caruth.
After that transfer spot, it's out there Vargas and Bickford. That's the challenge there. They're 3 wide.
There they go.
They're wrecking.
Oh, come on around the TJ Majors
Adam
in the wall.
Cabot.
Couple cars around. Adam Cabot, the defending champion. Teammate Jay Majors is around.
They're still wrecking. Shieldhouse is in it.
Back up
and
front
Brandon
here down
Brown,
the backstretch.
Dave Wood. Now Sybil with the lead. Oh, now on the top. Here's Nick Olsen. He goes to the top. He's got Busa with him. No help. Nick Olsen, a Road to Glory driver from last season, advanced his way into Monday Night Racing. Busa now along the top. Are they going to challenge for him? Here comes Busa to the outside. They bang. Here comes Sora. And Sora is going to win at Daytona in duel number 2.
Your Road to Glory Series champion, Presley Sora, out of nowhere, makes that pass coming into the tri-oval and is your Duel 2 winner. How about that?
Gonna get the
David
transfer.
Shieldhouse, that 17th spot. Now he's 14th. It all comes down. Eggert now in that 18th. A couple of these guys are out. Shieldhouse will make his way in. A couple of these guys and stragglers trying to make their way across the line. Like Busta is out. Zimmerman now. We'll see. We're trying to figure out who the final lineup is going to be
I
here.
think Shieldhouse is the last one in.
It sounds like Shieldhouse is going to be the last one in.
But you're going to have to look and see who caused those wrecks. I know Olsen on the front stretch might be in it. I'm not sure who caused the one in turn 1.
Be very curious to see how many of those guys made it across the start-finish line as they were wrecking there in the tri-oval. How about it? Presley Sora, our Road to Glory Series champion, burned it down there as our Duel 2 winner. And he had mentioned this to me earlier. If he said he was going to win this, this is my second broadcast I've ever done, and he won the Road to Glory Championship, so 2 for 2. How about that? That's pretty awesome.
Presley Sora in duel number 2, a big win for him. advancing his way, and he'll start alongside. He only led one lap. Nothing mattered. A replay of that last lap there, and about that. All single file there for now, trying to figure out where to go. And we had some trouble there in the pack. How about a guy like Matt Stolnick? A lap down for the majority of the race. He advances his way in. Looks like some trouble with Raja Karuth and Malik Ray. Those two got together. A couple of those cars got together in the back, and then trying to hold on to it was Gabe Wood. Malik Ray turns into David Schildhouse. You know David Schildhouse not going to be happy with that one, but he advances on to the next session. Malik Ray will advance on, so will Ryan Vargas. And how about this lap slap here, DJ?
Yeah, this was awesome. And when Nick Olson made that move outside of Leighton Sybil was going to be a parachute at that point. So I was very curious to see who was going to make the move to get past Nick Olson. And Matt Boosted made it there at the top lane. Then Nick Olson through the block, basically took everybody out. And then Presley Sora just dove to the bottom where the open lane was and got to that finish line first. Awesome finish.
Well, Colin, I guess this is going to mean that you will be on the pole for the first seasonal Sunrise 500 next Monday night. Big night for you as we take a look at this, the rundown here. And TJ Major is going to be that first guy out. Curtis, Malillo, Schildhouse, the last few guys to make it. But, Colin, starting on the pole, walk us through it.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be a lot of pressure. That first green flag of the season, it's going to be a lot of fun. 125 laps around Daytona. So it's going to be a long race, but really excited to lead the field down, and hopefully we can have a little better outcome at the end of the season than we did last year.
As we take a look here at the finishing leaderboard of these guys, top 18 advancing to the show. So Presley Sora was our winner. He'll start outside row 1. Brad Perez out of nowhere with a P2 finish. Matt Busa finished 3rd. Parker Kligerman 4th. Leighton Sabile 5th. Charlie Brown, 6th place. Landon Huffman, 7th. Matt Stolnick, we mentioned, was running a lap down for majority of the race, came back and finished 8th. Hats off to him there. Nick Olson, 9th, and Boris Cook in the top 10 there, Ford.
First Cook in the top 10, Roger Karuth 11th, James Bickford 12th, Bailey Turner 13th, Malik Ray 14th, Ryan Vargas 15th, Dakota Curtis in his first appearance in Monday Night Racing. He'll be in 16th. Justin Malillo will squeak in at 17th, and David Schildhouse rounding out your top 18 of drivers to make it in. He will be 18th. TJ Majors 19th, and Adam Cabot will round out your top 20. The defending race champion, those two have to race their way in. So along with Gabe Wood, Brandon Brown, and Seth Eggert will have to make their way in through the LCQ coming up here just shortly. And I believe do we have Presley Sora with us now? I don't believe that we do just yet. But guys, what an outstanding race that we had here this afternoon.
And we now do have our Duel 2 winner, Presley Sora. And Presley, I just mentioned to the group earlier, 2 for 2 now. What do you say there, buddy?
I think you need to commentate some more races. I think we'll just hire you to commentate everything I race, because it seems to be some pretty good luck. I'm 2 for 2 now at that, but we'll take it. That's freaking awesome.
Take us through that last lap from your perspective.
Well, I was staying committed to the top. There was no way I was going to the bottom at all. No matter any runs coming behind me, the bottom was just, it would stall out if you didn't have at least, I don't know, probably 10 cars down there pushing hard. So I was staying on the top, and the seas parted when they wrecked coming to the tri-oval. And my plan was to take it down to the apron regardless. But once I saw them start to get together, I knew I had to go down there. I'd be caught up in it. But it worked out perfectly.
Well, Presley, awesome night for you. Crypto Autosport, your new team, the champion of the Road to Glory series. You now are going to race in the Sunrise 500 next week. Presley, thanks for your time here today. Congrats on your win, and look forward to seeing you here on Monday night.
Yep, on the front row for next week. I'd like to thank Club Jerky, Maconi Setup Shop, obviously Crypto Autosport, Podium for broadcasting, you guys for putting on the series. This is awesome. I can't wait for next week. I'm going to go win the championship in this thing.
That's Presley Sora from Cambridge City, Indiana. He takes the win tonight. Colin, DJ, final words here before we sign off and send it back to the professionals and Blake, Kenneth, and Jacob.
I'm just really excited they're taking back over. This is not my gig. I would need to be down there on the racetrack, but I'm excited to tune in and watch the LCQ. A lot of big names down in there, including the defending champion. So it'll be fun to watch, and excited for those guys to come back on, and really excited for Monday to kick off season 5.
Yeah, I echo Colin's sentiments. I definitely belong in the driver's seat versus the broadcast booth, but this is definitely a blast getting to do this every once in a while. Now, this was just fantastic stuff here, these first 2 duels. This LCQ here is going to be really, really interesting to see which guys can battle their way into the main event here next week, and it's shaping up. The Sunrise 500 is shaping up to be some pretty awesome stuff. If it's anything like we just saw with these first 2 duels and this LCQ here coming up, it's going to be a great time, and I'm really looking forward to it.
From the worldwide center of racing in Daytona Beach, Florida, alongside Colin Fern, DJ Cummings, I'm Ford Martin. We're going to turn it over on the other side to Blake McCandless, Jacob Hitz, Kenneth Bueno, here from the Alpha Graphics Duel at Daytona. We'll be right back for the last chance qualifier in Daytona.
Oh, I've got someone. Trust me, I've got somebody.
Ooh, should we stir up some drama?
You try to start some drama here, huh?
Will Rogers, because he's short.
I wouldn't say that anybody really gets under my skin, because it is a free video game.
Well, I would characterize it as a friendly rivalry at this point, but it's got to be Gabe Wood, right? I mean, look at, the banquet last year. I mean, I got a piece of sheet metal from him because we got into it so many times.
So I've probably had the most on-track run-ins with Chris Wilner.
Really?
And it's just one of those deals where whenever I got wrecked, I looked and he was the one that started.
Yeah, but Michael, we've had some run-ins, and that's been as of late. Michael, I hear you, buddy.
Ford Martin. Expand. We do the thumbs down to each other a lot. Anything I could say, he will thumbs down. I could say I met the president today, or hey, I got so-and-so to race with us. He'd still give me a thumbs down, so we're very competitive on the track. I actually beat him this past week.
All right, my biggest rival, I gotta say Anthony Alfredo. I mean, he's wrecked me a couple times, but it just seems like every time he gets around me on the racetrack, he moves me and then half apologizes and says, it's just racing, and then goes on, to run top 5. So, gotta be Anthony Alfredo. Crash pasta.
It hasn't been lately. There's this thing called a push to talk, and there's some guys that are a little bit more vocal. It hasn't, like I said, it hasn't been lately, but when I first got into MRN, Ryan Vargas always had something to say.
In terms of my biggest rival and who I want to beat every week, I'm going to go right back to Will Rogers.
Anders Krohn, but he's the last time he wrecked me, he actually did apologize for it, so we're even. Whether it's racing me hard or has wrecked me, it's more times that I'd like to count.
My biggest rival on the track, I'd have to say, is honestly probably Gabe Wood. He gets under my skin every once in a while. I'll wreck him, he'll wreck me, but ultimately we both race pretty good. Favorite Monday Night Racing moment so far was actually this past season for the finale race. Just after the green flag, Shane Van Gisbergen wiped out Colin Fern out of the championship. And it's a bummer for Colin, but man, it made for great comedy.
Anytime Will Rogers gets wrecked, that's the best M&R moment whatsoever. If he's in the fence, then I'm a happy camper. I'm smiling behind my screen. So when Will Rogers gets wrecked, best time ever.
Turn 1 at Fontana. I think Iowa was really cool, playing the right strategy. Iowa in season 4 playing the right strategy, getting the caution at the right time, and then having to sit there through a red flag for 15 minutes was stressful. And it was just funny to scroll through Twitter and watch everybody tuning in, enjoy that moment from everybody else's perspective, and being able to close out the win.
Otherwise, like I guess I would say my 2 wins, but that's not fun. Probably any time that anybody's yelled at somebody, because then I get to laugh.
Favorite M&R moment, it raced like a super speedway. It would be when we were late models, super late models at Michigan, and I was able to finish 5th, right behind the Ford Martin. It was one of my best finishes of my career, but it raced exactly like super speedway.
It's actually my favorite and my least favorite moment at the same time. We're dating way back, season 1 championship. You cross the finish line first thinking you win the championship, and then 5 minutes away it gets ripped away from you because of a bad move. But it's definitely something that you can get the best emotions and the worst emotions at the same time. But I think that was definitely one of my highlights in M&R, dating way back when to when we first got it started.
I really don't have much as a driver. I think really as a driver itself was racing against Mario Andretti and the season 1 finale. I thought that was such an incredible moment. Just the drivers that we've had in there. I mean, Dale Jr. racing with us, Kyle Busch raced with us many times he has. But I think racing Mario Andretti, passing Mario Andretti for the lead was pretty outstanding.
At Iowa, Gabe got really mad, and I forgot exactly what he said, but it was hilarious. And he got like his chat banned for the next race or something, or suspended. It was hilarious. I don't even remember what he said. Besides that, you could honestly just roll the clip of like times I've accidentally hit people or spun people. Those have been pretty funny M&R moments. Pretty big moments.
Next Monday,
and we are underway.
M&R is back as we set the field for the season opener under the lights in the Sunshine State.
We finally got one!
The Duels at Daytona, presented by Alpha Graphics, April 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern on Podium.
And welcome back, race fans, as we continue our coverage on what has been an extraordinarily entertaining night of the Alpha Graphics Duels at Daytona here for the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. Want to give a shout out to Ford Martin, DJ, as well as Colin Fern, who covered us in the booth there in duel number 2. And guys, it would have been a long night if we had to do both duels, because there was a lot happening at the end of that second duel.
It just felt like an entirely different race. I mean, and I said, at least in Duel 1, that we were probably going to see crazier, but I probably wouldn't have handled how crazy Duel 2 was. The amount of moves for the lead, the amount of almost crashes, big checkups, and then ultimately the big scuffle at the end, which enabled David Schildhaus to barely slide into the top 18 transfer for the Sunrise 500. I think in this LCQ, though, you're going to see a lot of scrapping. You're going to see a lot of beating and banging. What's going to be the final 4 spots, because it was top 18. It was a big margin in the duels, as crazy as that was. Now you got to slim it down to just only 4 guys who get into the main show.
Yeah, not a lot of spots up for grabs here in this last chance qualifier. And plus, Jacob, you got to factor in every one of these guys, especially those who have kind of been around. They've been waiting around if they were in Duel 1 for a couple of hours. I think the patience is wearing thin. Nobody wants to be in this LCQ. It's a shorter race. You're just not going to have a lot of patience, I think, when getting this thing started.
Well, right, and I think something that's interesting is we have a couple of guys, at least one that I've noticed, that is going to be in this LCQ that was not in their duel. Preston Pardis was not in duel number 1. Well, he's here now. He will be in this LCQ. He has the potential, of course, to be one of the provisionals from the promoter. There are 5 of those spots, but I don't think he wants to take advantage of that if he doesn't have to. So he's here for the LCQ to try and take one of these 4 spots. It'll be interesting to see how he races around here, since everybody else has 35 laps under their belts here.
Let's see if he can do that, and that's worth mentioning. That coming in without a lot of experience, I'm sure that doesn't help. But Preston Pardis, I think, more than capable of picking up on things very quickly. I know he's run well in the Xfinity Series at some plate tracks and done well with that. So you'd have to imagine it won't take too long, maybe just a lap or two or so, to get the layout of the land and get things up to speed. So at the moment, still working through some things. I know, again, we had a lot of events going on, I guess we could say, at the end of that, and still trying to sort that out and determine who exactly is going to be in this field for tonight's LCQ. We know for certain that at least the results for duel number 1 are official, so not having to worry or wait or do anything with our drivers from duel number 1. It's just, particularly just the back end and maybe the last few or maybe the last transfer spot right now that was up for discussion. I know, I think a few conversations going down in race control with different parties that are being involved, so still trying to sort all that out. And when we get word on the final decision or when we'll move forward, we will certainly let you know. But at least as far as the drivers, we know they're going to be in this field, Kenneth. This is kind of an opportunity race, I think, for a lot of these drivers to showcase how they might be able to do next Monday night if they're able to make it in, but also for some names that, sometimes we don't always see towards the front of the field in Monday Night Racing. I think this is an opportunity for them to get out front, to get that experience, and perhaps, try to build some momentum for themselves heading into next Monday night.
That's definitely true, and that was going to be my point, just building the momentum to go into the Sunrise 500, because yes, if you transfer through the LCQ, you're probably going to be near the rear of the field, maybe for the Sunrise 500. You're probably going to be on the back end of the list versus everybody that got in through Duels 1 and Duel 2 respectively. But if you can get in amongst the drivers here that are going to be in this group when we take the green flag, you're just only giving yourself more positive reinforcement. Hey, I've got the guts, I've got the skill to run with the best of the best. If I ran well in Duel 1 or Duel 2, maybe I could just transfer it to the LCQ and then beat everybody else, be in the top 4, and then take the green flag of the Sunrise 500 with a lot of positive, optimistic approaches there to what that race is going to be just 1 week from tonight. So yeah, that is true. A lot of drivers here going to be looking for the final stamp of what's going to be a positive road to the Sunshine 500. We'll just have to see. There's a lot of good guys in here.
There is, and of course we mentioned just a little bit earlier, a little bit of a different format here for this LCQ. We shortened the race by about 10 laps, so when we do finally set this field for this LCQ, it will be a 25-lap last chance qualifier. Again, top 4 will advance to the main event, so you'll have your 18 finishers from both the Alpha Graphics Duel 1 and Duel 2 that have already been determined. I think 35 of those drivers have been determined right now. I think there's still a little bit of debate over who that 36th driver is going to be and discussing the results of heat number 2. But that will make up 36 once it's all said and done. 4 from this race, and then the remaining 5 spots, so we'll have 45 drivers compete in that Sunrise 500. Will be a promoter's choice, so it is even not over. Even if you're in this LCQ and you don't happen to transfer in, there is still an opportunity, or at least a chance, that you might kind of get in through the owner's provisional. So we will sort that out. One thing that we were kind of discussing, though, before we kind of kick things off to the other end of the show, Jacob, was kind of this new rule, this new format with how this season will be approached differently in terms of causing incidents and how that's going to be calculated throughout the year. I know that's been a change, and I know something the drivers kind of wanted, and they've delivered on that, and having a little bit of a shift in how that's policed this season.
And of course, I think the best way to kind of explain how everything works is to do it on track and kind of have a breakdown with our admin, Josh Mendoza. So maybe that's something we'll be able to do before we get the green flag next week at Daytona. But basically how it works is you get 12 incidents throughout the season. Once you hit number 12, you're going to be in some trouble. You cause 1 or 2, you're not too bad. If you hit 12 by the time we get to race number 5 or race number 6, good luck.
That is going to change the outlook for this entire season, I think, Kenneth, because It's not going to be so bad for the part-time drivers because you would hope if you're running in 2 or 3 races a year, you're not going to have to worry about causing 12 incidents. But if you're one of those drivers who's looking to try and chase after that championship, that's something that you're going to have to get in the back of your mind, that you have to take it easier, make sure that you're not making mistakes out there, because, I mean, who would want to be in a position, perhaps in a semifinal race or the round of 6, to have a chance at a championship and then you cause an incident and then your season is over? I mean, what a predicament that would be to put yourself in.
Yeah, that would be a terrible spot. I don't think anybody here in this Monday Night Racing Pro Series wants to end up in a situation where they're either really close to that 12X mark or over it and they end up out of the season. But that's going to really change the dynamic of a lot of these drivers. Before, with the penalty system, it was usually race by race, so it would casually be a race by race basis, and the aggressive drivers can usually be aggressive each and every week. But now, let's say somebody builds up their X points with race control, and they're a very aggressive driver by nature, they're going to have to dial things down. And how does that change the approach for the entire field when everybody has a different agenda, not only for the championship, but to make sure they even are eligible to run the rest of the season? That's going to be a really good point we'll talk about over the rest of the campaign. For now, though, it's going to be all about the LCQ and even trying to make the first race of the season.
It will be about the LCQ. We have 2 laps of qualifying. The drivers are starting to make their way around the racetrack right now. We'll be back after a quick word from Interstate Batteries.
More pros trust Interstate than any other battery. Why? We don't have time to ask them all, so let's just ask Danny. And Danny, and Danny, and Danny, and Danny, and Dan E, and Danielle, and Dan O, and yeah, this could take a while. Interstate Batteries, outrageously dependable.
Back with you here of coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. Blake McCandless, Kenneth Moito, and Jacob Hitz on the call. Ryan Bauer down in the virtual production trailer with cameras provided by Dougie Beard. We do want to mention, though, we were just talking about incident limits. One thing of note is that total will not start until next Monday night. So tonight you get 2 when you're parked, but that will not count towards the total. And another development out of that second duel is that Raja Karuth, who will transfer in through the duel, so you don't have to worry about him not qualifying in for the Sunshine 500, but after deliberation, he will start the feature race in last rather than in his qualifying position. So Karuth gaining entry into the event, but will start in the back when we start that Sunshine 500 next week, which I got to say, it is Daytona, so if there's one place you probably want to start from the back from, I think Daytona would be one of those places.
And knowing Raja Karuth, he'll be up in the top 10 in 5 laps. So that's just the way he races, especially at these plate tracks. So I don't know if it's too much of a punishment for him starting at the back. Obviously, he won't have the track position right away, but it's not going to take him very long to get up to the front and start making some moves.
It certainly will not, as now we kind of have our 16 drivers, or actually, no, it is 17 drivers that have now loaded into this LCQ race. We've determined everything from Duel 2. Every driver who finished in the top 18 is going to keep their spot. So TJ Majors, who was on that outside in that 19th position, will be taking part in this LCQ, of which only 4 in the top 4 will advance after this again. So just a couple of seconds before we wrap up qualifying here for 25 laps, and a little bit of a different approach here, Kenneth. Not really going to have to worry about saving fuel. We've shortened the race to that, so it is just all out, balls to the wall, whatever you can get to try to make it into that top 4.
And if you saw the craziness of drivers trying to get into the top 18 in Duel 1 and Duel 2, it's going to be even more amplified this time with only 4 spots remaining in the field. It's a very slim margin. Obviously, there's less drivers in this field, of course, than Duel 1 and Duel 2, but still, only 4 drivers get into the main show next Monday, so that's a big thing you want to hang yourself over if you're any one of these guys in the LCQ, and all of them standing on the grid right now, so they're ready to go.
That is the case. We'll go ahead and bring you the starting lineup here for this last chance qualifier, our final of 3 races here in the Alpha Graphics Duels at Daytona. It'll be TJ Majors, spotter for Brad Keselowski and Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, who will start on pole after being the last driver out in duel number 2. Adam Cabot, your Season 4 champion, having to use the LCQ to get through. We'll see if that 17 can get his spot. Preston Pardus will start on the inside of row number 2. Brett Baldeck awfully close there in duel number 1 will start to his outside in that final transfer spot. Seth Eggert will start in 5th, the inside of row number 3. Gabe Wood from JD Motorsports will start in 6th. NASCAR Peak Mexico Series driver in Ruben Garcia will start in 8th. Brandon Brown will roll off from 9th. Chris Wilner of the Motor Racing Network will start in 9th. And shout out to him making his pit reporting debut at Talladega earlier this week. And Michael Massey will start in 10th.
Mike Clay in the 88 will start 11th. He's the last driver in this LCQ group to even set a qualifying time. Steven Ellis will be alongside him in row 6. Malik Ray made some huge moves in Duel 2, ended up in a wreck on the final lap. He starts 13th with Charlie Brown to his outside into 58. Bernard Parler Jr. in the 31 will start in 15th, and Case Collenbach will be the final driver, 16th at the exit of row 8 for this LCQ race.
I got to tell you what, Bernard Parler looks mean in his picture. I would not want to be lined up on the other side of the ball against him, and if anything, I think that's a message for these drivers, because he is going to have to come from the back. But again, we've seen he was pretty sporty there in that first duel, working up the inside, making up a couple of spots. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the former defensive standout for the Tennessee Titans and several other teams will maybe put one on him, see if he can ruffle his way through up to the front of the field. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Again, 25 laps is all they'll run here. So no fuel, no pit strategy, nothing to worry about. We will not have Malik Ray take the green. So Malik Ray not making it out, so I believe his opportunity to make the Sunrise 500 will have to come through the owner's provisional should he be invited into the race next Monday night. So a couple of drivers also who are listed on the grid not starting. Steven Ellis did not make his way out to the grid. Malik Ray, as we just mentioned, it appears as though Ford Martin signed up as a driver but wasn't officially counted in the total, so that'll make the drivers list just a little bit shorter, but there are still going to be plenty more drivers left on the way out, on the outside looking in rather than in the race.
Okay, so based off of what Josh Mendoza is saying, Ellis, Brown, Ford, who's already in the show, Case, and Malik Ray, they're all locked into the feature. I guess as... Oh, no, wait a second. Are they all locked in? They're all locked in from the duels. I'm losing my mind. Please, somebody else start talking.
Just a little bit of confusion there over drivers who are already in that signed up for this race. So just a little bit of confusion here, getting everything sorted out. And again, we had a little bit of discussion debate over that last spot in duel number 2, but we'll worry about that later. 25 laps on the docket to end the Alpha Graphics Duels at Daytona. They'll be led to turn number 1 by TJ Majors, clear and in the lead.
Good, easy start here for the RFK. What looks to be the number 6 on your screen, the Castro machine. So Majors out in front. Artist will try to give the push here, but Cabot trying to settle in with Brett Baldeck right behind him. Here comes Majors to block up top.
And I think TJ Majors' plan here, guys, is to just ride around out front as much as he can. That's got to be the game plan. We'll see how long he can do so. We know Adam Cabot's hungry, though, the reigning champion. He was so close to making his way in and not having to go through this. Well, here he is now. He's safe in P2 as they come off 4.
Well, and I wouldn't be surprised if TJ Majors, Adam Cabot somewhat finding each other, finding two drivers who are very accomplished. Cabot being the Season 4 champion, and TJ Majors, I mean, if you could think back to the old DWC days, he was running in the Coke, what is now the Coke Series, as he leads a single file line into 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about this setup and the way this is formatted. Adam Cabot, a Season 4 champion, you'd expect him to breeze right by the duels to get into the Sunrise 500, but here he is fighting for his life to get into the first points race of Season 5. So it just shows you how ruthless the super speedway system really is.
And these guys are just going to single file choo-choo it here along the outside of the racetrack. You got to wonder if they just want to let these laps whittle down and then make their moves inside 10 to go.
Well, there's just not as many numbers out here, not as many cars to try and make runs happen, so it makes it harder to step out of line if you want to do that. So it'll be Majors, Cabot, Baldeck, then Gabe Wood, and Brandon Brown will round out your top 5.
I think Hitz was right here on the fact that these guys just want to ride around and wait for the moment to strike, because pretty much everybody except Seth Eggert is riding the very top side of the racetrack. Preston Pardis is tucked in, Ruben Garcia's in there, Wilner, everybody, all single file as Eggert tries to find space.
Down the back straightaway, this top 4 single file of the top 7. Everybody is single file. You got to wonder if somebody like Brett Baldeck is going to try and pull out and make a move, or even Brandon Brown in that 12 machine. First car on the outside looking in.
Well, still, it's only Seth Eggert there on the bottom. He'll finally slot his way in, but not before he falls back to the 10th position. So Majors, Cabot, Baldeck, Wood, Brown, top 5, Massey, Garcia, Pardis, Eggert, and now Wilner. That's your top 10.
So far, everybody just wants to be calm, and I think it's just because of the mindset these guys have been in, especially with the experiences either one of them had in Duel 1 and Duel 2. Many of them got wrecked near the rear or just could not find themselves in the draft, so maybe they're just anticipating that they want to keep it calm all the way to the end. Only 2 cars on the inside, everyone up top.
And they do have a faster pair if they want to use it, if there is some chaos that goes on, but I don't blame these guys for just riding around as TJ Majors blinking a little bit. I don't think these guys are minding just riding it around here till later.
Well, I would think that, Jacob, but Chris Wilner side drafted, and he got a huge run, stalled out, but he passed about 3 cars in the middle of 3 and 4, that Flow Racing machine on the bottom, so perhaps he's Seth Eggert trying to build up that inside as they work towards turn 1.
And if they can do this, at least be persistent, maybe it just attracts a couple other guys in the front to dive down low and maybe give themselves some extra track position. We've seen that before in Duel 1 and Duel 2, where somebody goes down, somebody follows, and then everybody wants to go with them for momentum.
Here they come down the back straightaway. Adam Cabot, you got to wonder if his car is going to start running hot, because he has stayed all but glued to the back bumper of that number 6 of TJ Majors as they bring it around. So far, Cabot staying cool under the hood, all 4.
Well, and I couldn't imagine somebody better to ride behind than a driver who obviously is a spotter for one of the best in the business, one of the best super speedway spotters that the industry talks about. Can't imagine you'd want to be anywhere else than right behind TJ Majors at the front.
Yeah, definitely so. RFK Racing, they built a super speedway, a prestige, really, especially with Brad Keselowski, how good he's been on these large 2.5 or 2.66 mile super speedways. And right now, Majors just proving that he can keep it calm up in front. Nobody, though, making a move just yet.
Yeah, everybody just staying single file. You got some side-by-side in the back, and you got to wonder if those 2 guys in Wilner and in Eggert back there are just trying to test the waters out and figure out if they can make it to the front by themselves. Doesn't look like it. They're going to need some help.
Doesn't, as the case, it's hard to make that work as we'll come across the stripe this time, 19 to go. Remember, that number 6 car went to victory lane in the duels in the NASCAR Cup Series. TJ Majors will try to make that 2 for 2 tonight in the Alpha Graphics duels at Daytona.
How crazy is it that we're seeing an RFK 6 and then a 17 right behind it? I don't know if that's a coincidence or not, but nonetheless, they have remained back into each other. Caution, though, will come out. It looks to be on behalf of Chris Wilner. He was with Seth Eggert on the inside trying to make something stick, but it looks like he found trouble off the nose of the 57.
He got loose.
Yeah, that's the case, and nobody really got in the wall there. I think it was the 42 of Preston Pardis who actually may have scraped the outside retaining wall heading into turn number 1. But you can see Wilner right there. I think that's just one of the products, guys, of these next-gen cars. We've heard about how snappy they could be once you lose the nose, the shorter sidewall on the tire. It's hard to collect, and I think that just, even if you're riding in a single-file line at Daytona, that's just one of those things that can reach out and bite you if you're not fully paying attention. And fortunately there for Chris Wilner, just gets a little too sideways to be able to collect it up.
And that's really weird, too, because you would think with the 70-plus laps that we've seen so far tonight, we would have seen something like that with the amount of pack racing, how tight these guys have been, how aggressive those first 2 duels were. But everybody was able to keep it straight, and sure enough, just single file, following the leader, going down into the corner. Car just gets a little too sideways, and around it goes. That shows how hard these things are to drive, and I think that shows how talented everybody in MNR really is here at Daytona.
Certainly so, Jacob, as we'll pace around under the first caution flag of the evening, as we were just a little bit shy of reaching around that lap 10 marker. Currently working lap 8 of 25 here under the yellow flag. Again, 11 drivers right now scored in the field. We had several who were slotted to run but ended up not making the grid. Still, your top 4 will advance out of this LCQ into the Sunshine 500 next week. And 7 drivers will be left on the outside looking in, hoping that I don't know, maybe they've done a few favors for Ford Martin and company. They'll get that provisional from the promoters, as we'll have a couple of entrants on the pit road. It'll be the 2 drivers who were involved in that caution. Seth Eggert, who got a little bit of damage in that kick in the tires.net Chevrolet, and Chris Wilner will service his race car that got a little bit of damage as well.
You're not sure if it's going to be willing, or rather worth the risk to be willing to use the faster pair here. It looks like both of them are not going to do so. They're going to remain with slightly damaged race cars, but it really shouldn't hurt them too drastically. I think for Wilner, it's going to be worse than for Eggert, but at the same pace, they're going to try and recoup with the field here. But, I mean, that's a really good point you make about these next-gen cars. You and Jacob talking about it, just how crazy these things are and how different they are from Gen 6. You think about Gen 6 and how kind of traditional it was with the 15-inch rim, the fatter Goodyear tires, of course, no underbody whatsoever on those cars. You had a big spoiler, you had a side force, you had a lot of different things than what Gen 7 is for 2022. And it feels like when you drive this car, the Gen 7, you kind of play more with the underbody of the car, and you kind of race off of the bottom end of the car more than you do with the Gen 6. Gen 6, you kind of play with around the middle, maybe the top side with the drag and the spoiler and all that. But with this next-gen car, you have to really keep in mind what's underneath the splitter there, the step splitter, and the air that travels through the underbody and goes out through the diffuser. So it's a really big point we'll be talking about, especially when we race these cars later on in the campaign. So it's a lot of fun to see these guys adapt to it, though. The racing has been great, though.
Racing has been really good, and I think it will only continue to build up towards that Sunrise 500, which, again, will be another interesting thing, Jacob, and kind of the uniqueness of sim racing. You think about the 24 hours of Daytona and how, obviously, you go through every single hour of the day right there, but it'll be a little bit of a different take where we will start that race next week as it looks right now, under the lights, in darkness, and instead of the sun going down, we will see the sun rise, which from Daytona will come from the back straightaway and kind of rise up over the track throughout the day. So that'll be a neat little visual and a unique little package visually to have the sun rising on the opposite end of the track. We're so used to it setting behind the grandstands here at Daytona, but you'll see the sun crest, and that'll be when the action gets good. Instead of the sun going down and turning on the lights, it'll be a bit of the opposite, where the light will kind of indicate that, hey, we're getting towards crunch time here.
And it's something that we've never seen before, that night-to-day transition. Like, we've seen it in endurance racing, but we rarely ever see it happen in oval racing. And I think that may have something to do with vision as well. Instead of the sun always going down in the same spot, and then after the first half of the race, you don't have to worry about staring into the sun off into the corner. Instead, you're going to be looking at the sun at the end of this deal when you're trying to make moves, and it's do or die at the front of the field. So these drivers are going to have to pretty much get used to it in a trial by fire scenario that they only have one shot to get it right.
As the case, they only have one shot to try to make things work out. So as they work through the banking in 3 and 4, they'll come around and complete the 10th lap this time. We'll see if they go to the bottom, if they go to the top, what exactly is going to happen here with your top 4. The same 4 that started there, aside from Gabe Wood, who has worked his way into that 4th position. Green flag is out, and TJ Majors gets an incredible jump. Don't want to change lanes until you get past start-finish line. He'll do just that. Has about a car length up on Evan Cabot as soon as they start to file up towards that top line.
And that was a beautiful restart from the 06 of Majors because he allowed guys like Cabot and, frankly, everybody else to get a good restart and follow him behind. They got real squirrely around where Brett Baldick was, almost just about lost his Queen City News Toyota Camry. He keeps it straight. We're double file for about 5th on back.
Yeah, Brett Baldick is really kind of putting the cork in the bottle for this transfer position. He is the transfer position as Chris Wilner has been given a black flag for a restart violation. So we'll have to see what that entails for him. Looks like he might have to come down onto pit road. He's up by the outside wall.
And we'll see what Wilner's able to do. Baldeck did an amazing job of slotting in when he could, or else he was going to fall back a number of spots. So your top 4 has not changed. Majors, Cabot, Wood, Baldeck, your top 4. And Michael Massey, first car looking out.
And it looks like it has not changed on behalf of the approach of the 57. Seth Eggert, he wanted to look down there and help the 42 of Preston Pardis for at least a couple of turns before they decided, okay, nobody's wanting to move down here. We'll slide back up as you ride on board with the 27 of Michael Massey here. They're going to slide in behind the 42 Pardis behind this 27 car.
Yeah, they were looking to make a move, but they couldn't quite do it. And I think they're just kind of testing the waters here. Trying to see, well, if I go, is somebody going to go with me? Right now, looks like that 27 and 42 might have a shot.
It looks like they may form out to try and take that momentum, but it'll stall at the back of Brett Baldeck. However, look a little bit behind them, starting to get the inside work in that number 12 machine. Brandon Brown trying to get ahead of steam, but Eggert will duck out of line with him.
So far, Brown will have absolutely no help. There's a look at from the Lockdown Racing Toyota Camry. Almost slid in front of Mike Clay, but could not do it. Clay with too much of a draft push there off of the car in front. And it looks like Brown will be okay. Everybody single file in the back straight away.
Here comes Preston Pardis. He pulls out a line. Seth Eggert to go with him side by side for position number 5. Pardis has no help downstairs, though, and he's going to drop through the field. Ruben Garcia has lost the draft. Chris Wilner, he's done his pass-through. He's back on the racetrack.
All right, so Wilner going to be very slow, though. He'll need these guys to dice it up. It doesn't look like they're wanting to do it just yet. You see the 42 on your screen of Preston Pardis trying to do all he can to just hang on to this pack. Tough if you're that last car in line.
It really is, especially with the lack of cars. I mean, when you figure the comparison between Duel 1 and Duel 2, you had practically 25 to 30 cars, 25 at most, there to be in that group versus 11 strong. Now it's even worse because a couple of guys have fallen off. It is super tough to be on the back end, but Pardis finds a way in front of Brown.
Brett Baldeck had a good run. He had a lot of help from Michael Massey. The problem is he's got nowhere to go. He's kind of laying back from Gabe Wood in that 3rd spot, maybe trying to build up a charge to the front, but they're just ho-hum and riding around.
Riding around that BR line, as it was called back in the old sim racing days. As you see the backward shot at Gabe Wood from the 3rd position, looking back at Brett Baldeck, who holds strong over 4th. Michael Massey, though, will he take the run this time?
Not sure if he will. Pardis is going to look underneath Mike Clay and will try to switch around for that position. So a solid recovery there for the 42 after being hung out to dry. It looks like there is a car all the way in the rear end. It's Brandon Brown, who's lost the draft. Now make it 8 cars up at the front.
Yeah, Brandon Brown, I think, is right on the cusp of losing the lead pack. He needs Mike Clay to drop back a little bit, but I think Brandon Brown might be just too far back. He's about a second behind the 88 of Mike Clay, and I think as these guys continue to rocket off corner number 4, Brandon Brown's lost the pack.
Well, Brown's lost the pack, and this is what typically happens. That last car, you don't have that bubble pushing you forward, and this package, having a car behind you with how much drag is on this race car is so important. So one by one, that last car in the line starting to dip out and lose this lead pack.
Yeah, it's huge, and it's even bigger here because you won't make the show if you dip out of the top 4, and even worse so, dip out of the main draft pack. And that's the problem here with these guys going all single file, is that it doesn't allow for that last car in tow to get a draft up of any one of these guys.
And we saw Brandon Brown make the move to the inside. Nobody went with him, and he just couldn't keep the momentum up. I think that's more of an incentive for these guys inside the top 8 right now, just to stay single file until we get to 2 to go, so they don't also risk losing the draft.
No doubt about it, as they'll come across the stripe this time. It'll be 9 to go, so we're starting to get towards that point. You may think about trying to make that move. If you're in that 5th or 6th position, you're losing help behind you. I feel like you got to make it sooner because of that.
and I feel like if you're any guy in front of Seth Egger, you want Seth Egger to push you. At this point, it looks like the 42, the 57 have been the only drivers in the field to experiment with the bottom side, apart from obviously Chris Wilner, who got edged that penalty there with the drive-through. But if I'm any of the guys in front, I want the 57 and the 42 pushing me to the win.
Brett Baldock kind of peeks to the inside, doesn't quite get the help from Massey that he was looking for. He's going to stay in line. Mike Clay looks to the inside in that fantasy football machine. Let's see if he can go anywhere as they come off corner number 4.
Mike Clay with no help, and a little bit of side draft is all he has, but even that's not enough to pull back Preston Pardis, who now loses about a car length to Seth Egger in front of him. No change for your top 6 or 7 as they ride in line here towards turn 1.
And you know what, at this point in time, I got to think of the drivers who are up here at the front. Think about, obviously, TJ Majors had that scuffle there in Duel 2, obviously made the case to race control. Adam Cabot, your Season 4 champion, trying to make sure he can at least get into the Sunrise 500. Gabe Wood, who's won a couple of races. Brett Baldock, who's looking for his first. A lot of guys not willing to take risks at this point.
And you can't forget about Seth Eggert. He finished second when we raced here at Daytona a season ago. He's got one of the better average finishes at the plate track, so throughout the league, he sits 2 spots outside in P6.
Well, and right now you can look out the back and see Chris Wilner is going to get swallowed up here in a jiffy. If anything, he almost may lose the pack because he'll be going too fast for him. You see him slowing down at the bottom, but here comes the 42. Preston Pardis making a move around that 7th spot.
Preston trying to make a P-money move on the very bottom of the 31 degrees of banking, but cannot find help. Maybe Clay could be the savior who dive back up and still stick with the pack. It is so hard near the rear, Jacob, to make a move at that part of the race.
I feel bad for anybody that blinked right there because they just missed Chris Wilner getting lapped. He might be able to get the draft off the back of Mike Clay, but I wouldn't count on it. He would still need a caution to get back onto the lead lap. You got to remember that he did not use his faster pair after the spin, so he still got that damage too.
And I think Chris Wilner has been left behind, just not able to catch that draft quick enough. Got a little bit of damage to boot, so unfortunately Wilner going to lose this pack. However, if he does get a caution, he would be the lucky dog. So all he needs is exactly what he sees right here. Eggert making a move to the inside.
We've seen it happen before where lap cars get unlapped just because of one small caution. Here comes Saddlebrook, New Jersey, Seth Eggert. He's got help from Preston Pardis and Mike Clay, so make it 3 cars up at the bottom. Can't do anything to get a run on the top 5.
That outside line kind of checked up, though, and Brett Baldock had to get out of the gas. He almost got the wall. Here comes Eggert and Pardis and Clay back down to the bottom. They're going to try and get a run, and now Pardis, he's going to jump up to the outside. That's going to leave Eggert stuck standing still.
And Eggert going to swing low, swing high, now back down to the bottom, and unfortunately he will lose that position. So a successful move there for Preston Pardis as he snookers him out of the 6th position, but still not a change in your top 4, the spots that count.
Kind of similar to what happened with Chris Wilner in the instance there. Eggert just swerved up the track, the car snapped, and he tried to chase it back down to the banking there coming out of turn 4. It could have been much worse for the 57. He keeps it straight, but he might lose the draft.
The field got the high 5 from Barney the Flagman that last time by. 5 laps to go. The clock is ticking. Who's going to be the one to make a run and try and crack the top 4 and make it out of the LCQ and make the Sunshine 500? Everybody single file up by the outside wall off turn 4.
Eggert did a good job. He was about 6 or 7 car lengths back. You can see he's got a huge run on the field, but will kind of stall out once he gets to Mike Clay. Check up once again. Here comes Seth Eggert looking to the inside. Pardis thinking about going with them as now they're shuffling right behind Brett Baldock with 4 to go.
And that was Pardis there. A very interesting move to put the 57 in that bubble and shove him out of making a move on Mike Clay. It looked for a moment like he was going to duck down and help the 57 get up to the front as the 27 of Michael Massey just loses the race car, hit the wall, collects Preston Pardis with him, and that brings out our first caution of the LCQ with 4 laps to go.
And a mistake there from Michael Massey, who I don't believe had any intention to pass Brett Baldock here. Riding along the inside, or riding along the outside rather, can't really go anywhere. Obviously not any space, and Yeah, you can see he just gets tight off the exit of the corner, maybe just looking, staring too much at the back end of Brett Baldeck and runs into the outside wall. And that is tough because Massey is in perfect position to try and make that move on the last lap to try and get into the top 4. You can see nowhere to go for Preston Pardis, who was there on the inside. So 2-car spin, caution is out. And oh boy, this will set up what I'm sure TJ Majors, Adam Cabot, and the like did not want to see, a green-white checkered restart.
Overtime might be the right time for some of these guys at the front, but maybe not everybody. I'm sure Brett Baldeck just put his hand down, or his head down in the steering wheel. Cannot believe he was so close to making it out of the LCQ. Instead, he's got to giddy up because he's going to have a lot of hungry drivers on his heels when we get the restart.
No doubt about it. It's going to be a dog-eat-dog scenario here, as, you know, I think even Baldeck may have felt comfortable with the position he was in, because these top 3, they have no incentive to really pass each other. Majors, Cabot, and Wood, they had every incentive in the world to just try and stay in line, work with each other, and let those guys back there fight for that 4th spot. But now you're going to stack them up too wide. How quickly can you get formed up? How can you make those things happen, and how desperate are these drivers going to get with now everybody caught up behind them? This is also going to put Chris Wilner back on the lead lap. So Chris Wilner, who was a lap down, now has an opportunity to get back into this race. Preston Pardis, and you see Massey there on the left side of your screen, currently servicing their race cars on pit road. Lights are out on the pace car, though, as we have green, white, checkered overtime in front of us. And guys, we might be here for a while because we can have up to 3 attempts at this.
Yeah, but the good thing so far is that the trends in Duel 1 and 2 have shown us is that we haven't really been forced to use all 3 green, white, checkered attempts. And with the lack of cars we see here in comparison to the races earlier on tonight, I wouldn't expect us to use all 3, but I am the king of commentator jinx, especially recently in my experience. So, I mean, maybe I could be 100% wrong. But in this case, now I wonder what's going to happen here with the guys behind Majors, because it looked like on the opening jump, everybody was content with at least forming up to a single file grouping and then just staying there like they did pretty much the whole race. Now, does Cabot put up more of a fight? Does Wood do? Does Baldeck try anything? Does Clay, Egger, do any of those guys try to do something different here? Or are they going to stay all status quo until the white flag is displayed?
Well, actually, I think I jumped the gun a little bit there, as the lights were not off that time. I thought I saw him go off. I could have sworn I did, but we will still go around one more time. You see that 3 to go. We'll drop here in just a moment. I believe this time, no doubt about it, they'll get the 1 to go signal from Barney, the flag man. But I have to think too. I mean, give a nod to Gabe Wood, not only with his performance tonight, but even Ryan Vargas showing up in the NASCAR Xfinity Series with some really fast machines, and they've had some ridiculous qualifying speed. Went out and qualified in the top 10 at Talladega this past weekend, the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So I don't know, I guess using some of that super speedway prowess up here and trying to make some moves to stay in the top 4.
It could carry over, even though Talladega and Daytona are completely different racetracks. Even if you ask the drivers, Talladega's wider, so Daytona, it's a lot harder to put moves together. But Gabe Wood, he's always somebody that kind of creeps up out of nowhere at these plate tracks and is a factor. Don't roll out that 50. He could still come away and win this thing, or it could wind up on his top and finish in 8th. You never know. We'll find out here on this overtime.
Well, there's a thing or two. As far as Monday Night Racing competition is concerned, averages just about a 12th place finish. So he's definitely a factor when it comes to these races. We even have some driver ratings, which, by the way, shout out to Justin Malillo for putting together a just insanely comprehensive list of Monday Night Racing stats that we'll lean on and take credit for throughout the year. But Gabe Wood, according to this, we even have driver ratings in this. driver number 15 as far as his driver rating. He's got an 82 super speedway racing rating, and by the way, top in the league is Justin Melillo there with the 95 based off of their performances over the last few seasons. But lights are going to go off in the pace car. 2 more laps to do it. TJ Majors, Adam Cabot, your top 2. Gabe Wood and Brett Baldeck holding on to the final few spots, but they got Mike Clay, they got Seth Eggert, and a host of hungry drivers behind them as Majors will make the move to the outside. Looks like top side starting to get some momentum as they head to 1.
And it's exactly what I thought here, Blake. Nobody wants to stay single file. Gabe Wood, Valdosta, Georgia native, trying to make sure he can at least pioneer the inside and make a charge to end up in the top 4. He's putting himself at risk now because Seth Eggert has now moved up top.
Gabe got left at the altar because Blake Baldeck said, "Thank you very much, trouble." Mike Clay gets turned around through the grass on the back straightaway. We stay green as into the inside wall goes Brandon Brown. Clay keeps his foot in it, but those two are going to be out of contention. Chris Wilner may have lost the draft even though he's on the lead lap. Count on the white flag, no. Caution's out.
It looks like that will be the incident. Perhaps a little bit of a later display of the yellow flag there from Barney, the flagman.
He fell asleep up there, I think.
He noticed it right as it was. I mean, it happened in the back straightaway all the way in the inside. So, I mean, maybe it took a while for him to notice. But a late caution, and I guess I was wrong on extending green-white checkers because we're already in attempt number 2 this time.
Already in attempt number 2, and we'll see how it happened. They were 4 wide on the bottom, and of course, no yellow line rule here to speak of, so Brandon Brown fully within his right to run down there. You see, and also, look at that paint scheme. That is a beautiful North Wilkesboro Speedway race car. Glad to see that that will be a regular fixture here in short track racing. Come August, going to run some late models, going to run some dirt later, so great little paint scheme right there for that number 12 car, but unfortunately doesn't look as great bent up here at the back of the pack, and already as quickly as we had it, we nearly reached the white flag, but we'll have to reach back and try it once again for attempt number 2.
So close. I didn't think we were going to get a caution from that, but sure enough, they decided to throw it at the last second, so that just means we get to do it again, and that gives Brandon Brown and Mike Clay a shot to regroup, maybe learn from that restart, and apply it here to this second overtime.
Let's see if they can do it as Cabot and Majors no swap up front. Brett Baldeck move forward from 4th to 3rd over the course of that restart. And how about Seth Eggert, who made up several spots there to get up into the top 4, 57, going to start on the outside of row number 2. I think that's almost exactly where you want to be. Majors has shown that he wants to work with Adam Cabot and get to that top side as quickly as possible. So I think Eggert in a great position here to move up. I think you have to worry about Brett Baldeck, though. He's exactly where Gabe Wood is, and Gabe Wood back in 7th right now, so on the outside looking in.
Yeah, that's definitely true, but at the same time, Wood put himself at risk there of losing P4, and that's exactly what happened. He was pretty much stable in the top 4 in that LCQ transfer basically the entire race up until that moment where he tried something on the inside, a couple of cars to assist, and then all of a sudden Seth Eggert just had the momentum up top and was able to get by. So we'll see what Wood can do on the response here, whether he can step back into the top 4 and ensure a spot in the Sunrise 500. But anything can happen here, and I imagine 2 out of 3 green-white checkered attempts. We're on our 2nd now. The aggression is only going to start to pick up, and that single-file train we've been accustomed to seeing tonight in this race is going to be bye-bye by the time we take that green flag.
At least it is going to be around that transfer spot. There is no doubt about that. So they've shortened this caution flag to get them going back once again. You can see Brandon Brown pulling up to the back of this field. And Mike Clay is back there as well with a freshly prepared race car, courtesy of the Fast Repair. So we'll try it once again. Overtime attempt number 2. TJ Majors, Adam Cabot, your top 2. Great restart from Majors. Stay low to the line. And it looks like Majors, just as he has all night long, going to slot right to the top of the racetrack. Baldeck able to get up for 4th, so now Eggert in 3rd.
There's more separation on that restart overall. It's what allowed everybody to get single file. Looks like Ruben Garcia, Chris Wilner, and Brandon Brown are the 3 left to try and tag along down low. Looks like Wilner almost trying to make it 3 wide there. Brown will dip underneath Garcia, but no worries for the leaders. They're all single file.
Yeah, Garcia had a lot of trouble getting up to speed there. Trouble! Preston Pardus makes contact into Michael Massey, and around goes Pardus through the grass. Caution flag is out. Overtime attempt number 3. Preston Pardus, the culprit this time around. He went to make a move. Gabe Wood hooked him a la 2006. Dale Jr., Jimmy Johnson, and Brian Vickers to bring out yet another caution.
My goodness, I mean, that's a pretty accurate call right there, and it looked like Wood and Pardus pretty much tandemed up right there, and, you know, it is hard when you are Gabe Wood to see that car in front of you, and you can see right there they get hooked up, they get a big run. Pardus goes low to avoid the 27 car of Massey in front of him, and unfortunately when Pardus sees it, Gabe Wood does not, drives to the right rear, gets him out of shape, and another spin to the inside will complete overtime attempt number 2, and well, guess what, this is going to be our last attempt here.
Do I have leeway to shut myself up here because I said that I wasn't expecting us to end up in a situation like this where we would extend our hand to 3 green light checkered attempts? But nonetheless, I mean, on that incident, I think there's one thing to mention about these next-gen cars, the fact that they have those curved rear bumpers, and that shot from Gabe Wood, as much as it was positive, trying to make sure, hey, I'm going to help you get up to the front of the field and give you a run on the top 3, ultimately just got sent off center, put Pardus in a very compromising situation, obviously on accident, no purpose there, and then Pardus going around here, but I mean, ultimately, again, we're going to end up in our final green-white checkered attempt. If we can't get this over, we're going to finish this race under yellow. I think that would be good news if you're TJ Majors, who's done fantastic on the restarts all evening long. But for everybody else, it's pretty much a straight-up duel, bare-knuckle fist fighting.
Well, I think, and to pick up on your point, Kenneth, there with these next-gen cars, you heard a lot about it in the booth yesterday, NASCAR and Fox, with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and a couple other drivers up there who were kind of showing concern about the Chevrolet, and can they hook up as well as the Fords and the Toyotas? And there's no doubt about it that here in iRacing, the noses of these Chevrolets, well, guess what? They're a little more pointed than the Ford, which is flatter, and the Toyota, which is a little bit flatter. Gabe Wood driving a Chevrolet, and so it's almost kind of a factor just here at these plate tracks where if you're going to do that 2-car tandem, you're almost forced to be a little more accurate with where you place your race car because you don't exactly have the wiggle room that maybe a Ford or Toyota would. It's easier to push that nose out, and to get a little out of shape, there's less wiggle room if you're driving one of these Camaros, Jacob.
Yeah, it's so difficult to push when the bumpers aren't completely flat. I know we saw it a lot on the Gen 6 cars, especially with the Chevys. When the new Camaro came out, the bumpers just did not line up, and it was just like the front bumper came up to a point, and any bump drafting that you would do, and you would spin the car out in front of you. So now it's a little bit different. The noses are a little more flat. The rear bumpers, they have a little bit of curvature to them, but not a ton. And I think the goal for all of this was so that way they wouldn't have to completely ban bump drafting like they've had to do in the trucks and in the Xfinity series. They just designed the cars so that way you can push a little bit, but you cannot do it for an extended period of time without more likely dumping the guy you're pushing.
Well, and once again, they have turned the lights off on the pace car, shortened this, and this will be our final attempt at a green-white checker. TJ Majors still your leader. Seth Eggert now going to move low for second. Cabot still able to hold strong, but Eggert trying to make a move as they'll stack up 2 by 2. Here comes Brett Baldeck into third. Contact with Seth Eggert into 1.
That was really close with the 57, and I was just about to say it was at least the best restart I've seen recently from the inside bottom groove, but it seems as though they're all fizzling out. Here comes Mike Clay to make it 3 wide for position behind TJ Majors. All up in the front, though, clear for the lead.
Clay is going to get hung out to dry back there with Massey and Eggert. It's single file all the way through. Adam Cabot right on the back bumper of TJ Majors as they come through turns 3 and 4. Gabe Wood finds himself back in the final transfer spot off 4.
Well, they're side by side for 8th. That'll slow them down. So it's a 7-car breakaway here at the front of the field. White flag in the air. One more trip around Daytona. Majors, Cabot, Baldeck, Wood right now in. But now Wood going to make a move to the inside. They'll challenge for that 4th spot into 1.
Will anybody help that 50 car, though? Wood with absolutely nobody. Now here comes Brandon Brown. Give it Preston Partis. 3 cars on the inside versus 2. A tandem up front has pulled away with the 17 and the 6. But here comes Gabe Wood.
Brett Baldock had a little bit of a run. He doesn't have much. Now Gabe Wood with the help from Brandon Brown. They are going nowhere. They rocketed at turn number 3. Gabe Wood on the inside. He's now in. Trouble in the back as Chris Wilner gets turned around. TJ Majors and Adam Cabot come to the bottom. They protect the spot off 4.
2-car tandem going to work for your top 2 as they are dicing it out behind them. But it looks like Brett Baldock, Gabe Wood, Garcia to the line in a dead heat for 4th, and Garcia got him by 10/1000ths of a second at the last possible moment. TJ Majors your winner, and Ruben Garcia side drafted it perfect to get by Gabe Wood, and Garcia will be your 4th and final driver. You can see the replay right there. Perfect timing.
Unbelievable. We talked about Ruben Garcia making his debut, trying to get into his first ever MNR race out of the Peak Mexico Series, and Garcia comes out of nowhere in the final turn to barely edge out on Gabe Wood. I don't think you could get any closer than that, guys. Unbelievable, and the 33 is in the big show.
Ruben Garcia, who very early on was counted out from Duel 1 of these Alpha Graphics duels at Daytona, just had so much rotten luck. You can see right there, Cabot content to ride around in second until the last possible moment. Pulled out just a little too late. He almost had a run at Majors, though. You can see your top 4 finishing it out as Adam Cabot in second, Brett Baldock in third will transfer in, and Ruben Garcia will be your final driver to transfer in through this LCQ. More spots up for grabs, but it's going to come down to that owner's provisional, which you never want to have to rely on.
Man, can we run the Sunshine 500 tomorrow?
we might as well. I mean, that.
I don't want to wait a week.
I don't either. As you can take a look at the amount of drivers out of this LCQ that did not transfer in. Gabe Wood, Preston Partis, Brandon Brown. Seth Eggert was in position, not able to get it done, unfortunately, for Mike Clay. He'll have to wait. Mike Massey will have to wait as well. Chris Wilner and, of course, Ellis on back did not start this race. So 11 drivers come in, 4 come out, and 7 drivers here, Kenneth. Well, they're not going to be in that Sunrise 500 next week, unless they get that provisional. They're on the outside looking in for the first race of Season 5.
That's going to be a big hit for guys like Steven Ellis, for Chris Wilner. I mean, for a lot of those guys who are out, Michael Massey, Mike Clay, Seth Eggert. I mean, you've got a lot of big name people, even Preston Partis too, and Gabe Wood. All those guys are now out, and they're basically hanging on the last thread for Ford Martin to give them a chance and say, hey, you're going to be in the Sunrise 500. We'll let you compete in the first race of the season. But if they end up not a part of those 5 by promoter's choice, that's going to be a lot of points to the deficit for them, especially if they want to go to that Monday Night Racing Championship, because I know Partis and Wood, they've been playoff drivers before. Missing that first race is going to hurt significantly.
It really is, Jacob, and I think that's an amazing point that Kenneth makes, that every single race is going to count. Every single race is an opportunity to win. We saw what that did for David Schulthouse early to get a win at Daytona, how it changes your season. And for some of these drivers, Daytona is an opportunity race. There are not many of them on the schedule, but Daytona is one of those places where anything can happen. So I'm sure for a lot of guys that are on the outside looking in right now and not able to race in that Sunrise, they're devastated because they know this is such a great chance for them to have that opportunity to win.
It helps balance the playing field out, so anybody can win. Anybody has a shot here at Daytona. You've got the big wreck looming in the background the whole race. Sometimes it comes down to strategy. Sometimes it just comes down to being in the right place at the right time. Next week is going to be so fun. 45 drivers around this racetrack. I can't, like I said, let's do it tomorrow. Let's just have Monday again. I'm ready.
I'm right there with you, Jacob. I think we're all ready to get next Monday night started. I know Thursday Night Thunder, that was a great prelude to, I think, what we were going to see tonight, but it only makes me more hungry to get that next race started, to make sure that we're going to be racing here on Monday night. So, of course, want to thank you all for watching here tonight. It's a bit of a long evening, but at the end of the night, we now know the drivers who will be racing in the Sunrise 500 to start Season 5 of Monday Night Racing, presented by Interstate Batteries. And I think real quick before we go, I think we can catch up with the driver who comes out on top here tonight. And yes, we did get a hold of TJ Majors. So TJ, it seems like this place is a great opportunity for Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, winners in duels in real life, and you got it done here tonight.
Yeah, wasn't the race I wanted to be in, but had a transfer spot locked down in the first race, but some guys got a little aggressive up front and caused a wreck, and I missed it by a spot. So it was good to rebound and get a win in this one. And having some help the whole time there with Adam, just being smart and everything. It was all about qualifying. So luckily got a good qualifying lap in and was able to get clear and up to the top and maintain it.
Well, you're able to get your way in, but I know that you may have your sights set a little bit higher than just running well at Daytona. If you're going after this season-long points, if you're trying to win a championship, how does this set you up for that, being able to get into the first show?
Just got to be smart and try not to drive through people like Raja and, finish races.
Well, that's certainly going to be a big part of it as well. We won't hold you too long. We'll let you get back after it, celebrate with your buddies. But sure enough, we'll be sure to see you next Monday night in the Sunrise 500. Congratulations.
I appreciate it, Blake. Thanks.
That is your winner tonight in the number 6 Castrol Ford Mustang. TJ Majors, guys. We know he's a personality here. You could even hear that I think we're going to have some storylines to talk about, to say the very least, moving forward to next Monday night.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of storylines. That's just going to add to the large book that we have to column in what's going to be a great Sunrise 500 next Monday night. I agree with Jacob. I agree with you in the fact that we should do this tomorrow. I think just to top it all off, a great night of racing here at Daytona, followed by the big event. The next day after would have been amazing, but still got to wait a week. I guess it just adds on to the anticipation, to the hype that we're going to have. Is Sunrise 500 probably going to be the biggest event of this MNR season to date. It's going to be insane. We got a lot of great drivers, a lot of big names to come in, and a lot of things that could happen over the course of that event.
A lot left to be decided. And again, this is only the prelude to what we'll be watching here in Season 5 for the Monday Night Racing Series, Pro Series, presented by Interstate Batteries. So for our broadcast partners that took over the booth for Duel number 2, and Ford Martin and Paul Sutton, who also happened to double in race control there for Sutton, for Joshua Mendoza, Gary Sexton, John Theodore at Podium eSports, for our camera builder, Dougie Beard, and our overlay builder, Michael Hall. Cameron Auburnon on social media for us tonight, and for our entire broadcast crew here tonight, Ryan Bauer, Kenneth Bueno, and Jacob Hitz. I am Blake McCandless saying so long from the Daytona International Speedway. Thank you for watching tonight's broadcast, and by the way, be sure to tune in next Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, for the start of Season 5 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series, presented by Interstate Batteries. We hope to see you next week. Until next time, have a great night.